San Diego, it's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime years.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
Waking up San Diego on a Monday morning, November 17th. No, it is not Braden Surprenant with you. It is your pal Sam Levitt with you, taking you up until 2 p.m., filling in for Braden on this Monday here in America's finest city. Great to have you with us as we begin a new week here in November. Always an interesting time of year here in San Diego sports as we navigate free agency starting in Major League Baseball. We've got a lot of exciting San Diego FC news coming up. I'll give you a little preview of the program here in a second. San Diego State football with a big win yesterday. A lot to discuss over the course of the next 4 hours, and myself alongside the great producer of the Braden Surprenant Show, Frank Marchese, we'll take you through the next 4 hours. A lot to do, and hope everybody is doing well out there. I know you hear from me from time to time here on the station during the off season. In fact, I heard last week, I heard Frank and Braden talking about these trips I keep taking, and I'm
lavish vacations.
I'm not going to address it right now. I will be addressing that later in the show because there's a lot of mischaracterization and I would say near assault on my character going on here as far as my lavish trips in the off season. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but a lot of good stuff to get to throughout the course of the next 4 hours. Filling in for Braden today, we have some great guests joining us throughout the next handful of hours. At 10:40 a.m., we'll talk with Marcelo Balboa, analyst on Apple TV's MLS broadcast, former U.S. national team defender, member of the National Soccer Hall of Fame. We'll talk about San Diego FC. A week from today, San Diego FC will play in the MLS semifinal against Minnesota United. So, yes, it is a week away, but a really good time to talk with just an outstanding personality and Marcelo Balboa at 10:40 a.m. We will, of course, have plenty of Padres talk for you. Not a ton of Padres news over the weekend. Obviously, the big news last week with the Sidlers announcing they're exploring their options, which could include a sale of the team. We'll discuss that a little bit. You haven't heard much from me on that, much from me on Craig Stammen as well. I'm going to talk a little Fernando Tatis Jr. We did have some breaking Padres news in the last hour or so. We'll get to that in a second. We'll be joined by AJ Cassavell, Padres beat reporter for MLB.com at 12:40. And then the great Darnay Tripp of NBC7, who just does a great job covering San Diego sports, whether it be Padres or San Diego FC or the Aztecs. He'll join the program at 1:40 p.m. So again, Marcelo Balboa at 10:40, AJ Cassavell at 12:40, Darnay Tripp of NBC7 at 1:40. So we've got a packed show for you, and we're going to touch a little bit of everything from Padres to Aztecs to SDFC to Major League headlines. I'll give you some thoughts on some of the stories over the course of the past week or so across Major League Baseball. I will admit to you, look, it's always a great day to wake up in San Diego. I woke up, I walked out to the water in OB. Beautiful sunrise, if you saw it this morning. Absolutely gorgeous sunrise. But I will say, it's not the best sunrise I saw in the last 24 hours. I was in Hawaii yesterday morning, my first time in Hawaii, speaking of lavish trips and vacations, which we will get to later. But great time in Hawaii, first time there on Oahu. Did a little bit of everything from snorkeling to zip lining to hiking to enjoying the beach. So everybody had a good time on the trip, and now back here in San Diego as we really head towards the winter meetings which are all of a sudden just a few weeks away. I'll be heading to Orlando for those. We'll have great coverage for you of that here on 97.3 The Fan. All right, before we get to anything else, we'll get to the Aztecs, their win against Boise State in our next segment. We'll get to SDFC a little bit later in the hour. There was some breaking news, not earth-shattering news, but breaking news nonetheless within the last hour or so from a Padres standpoint worth talking about, and that was the Padres signing Kyle Hart to a one-year deal through the 2026 season with a club option for 2027. No information yet on what the money is on this deal. I can't imagine it is a terribly expensive contract. Kyle Hart did sign a guaranteed deal last year. The option was for $5.5 million, which just would have been way, way, way too high for Kyle Hart. So you understand it. Padres declining the option and bringing back Kyle Hart, I would assume, on a much smaller number. So on one hand, it is not earth-shattering news. I think that's fair to say. On the other hand, there is a lot of good to point to with Kyle Hart. Now, is Kyle Hart going to be a part of your starting rotation in 2026? From an opening day roster standpoint, I think you could make the argument from a Padres standpoint that you would prefer that he's not, only for the reason that if he's in your starting rotation, what does that say about what else you've accumulated starting rotation-wise throughout the rest of this offseason? Is it impossible based on the amount of money the Padres may spend this offseason? It's not impossible, but I would think in an ideal world, you're looking at this as a depth signing, possibly for your rotation, but maybe more so, and I think this might be the thinking from a Padres standpoint, really a bullpen depth piece in Kyle Hart. Kyle Hart, if you look at the numbers overall last year, you just take a quick look at what he did last year, 5.86 ERA in 20 appearances, 6 starts. Not going to blow you away. Not great numbers. However, there are a few different things, and if you watch the Padres in the second half of the season, you'll remember this. There were some really nice little stretches and really nice outings for Kyle Hart against left-handers overall last season. Very, very effective. 189 batting average against, 529 OPS against. His sweeper in particular, very, very, very good. Limited opponents to a 132 opponent batting average against his sweeper. He used it 33% of the time. It was the 10th lowest batting average, opponent batting average, against any sweeper in the league among guys who threw at least 200 pitches last season. So, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it is earth-shattering news that the Padres re-signed Kyle Hart this morning, but there is reason to believe that Kyle Hart, if used effectively, and you use a little bit of Ruben Niebla magic, could be an effective bullpen arm, could be an effective left-handed specialist type out of your bullpen. Now, what do the Padres plan for Kyle Hart? I don't know. We probably won't find out until the winter meetings when we get a chance to ask AJ Preller about it, and we find out, do they see him as more of a starting rotation depth piece? If so, you could see him at AAA, much like he was last year, where he was up and down, and when they needed him, he came up, and there was varying degrees of success, as we know, for Kyle Hart in a starting sense. But could you see Kyle Hart competing for a bullpen spot at a spring training, or the Padres head into spring training viewing Kyle as a pretty solid left-handed reliever option? I think that's possible. Again, do we really know what Kyle Hart is at the major league level, what he could possibly be? I don't know. There was varying degrees of success for him last year. There were outing stretches where he looked pretty good and outings and stretches where he did not. But between the numbers against lefties and the effectiveness of his sweeper and the faith you have in Ruben Niebla as a pitching coach, I think there is reason to think that they see something in Kyle Hart to say, you know what? Let's be proactive, get him back. This guy could help us in some way, shape, or form. The other part of it is this, and this is something we'll talk about a little bit later in the program. There's no doubt about it, and it's no secret if you've been following the Padres and you've been looking at this roster heading into the winter. The Padres' biggest need is their starting pitching. This team needs starting pitching. This team needs depth as far as starting pitching. They need quality as far as starting pitching. Right now, to me, you have essentially 2 to 3 guarantees in your rotation. Obviously, Nick Pivetta. Obviously, Joe Musgrove is coming off Tommy John. And look, I have all the faith in the world in Joe Musgrove to come back and be ready and be effective. And we know the guy, the competitor that Joe is, but he is coming off Tommy John, which is always going to come with a little bit of a question mark as to what that's going to look like. After that, you want to tell me Randy Vasquez is automatically in this rotation right now? I'll take that. But really, after that, you have no idea. I mean, you're looking at J.P. Sears. You're looking at Matt Waldron. Maybe now, after this news this morning, you're looking at Kyle Hart. Goes without saying, the Padres have a ton of work to do as far as constructing this starting rotation one way or another. And what we'll continue to wonder, I think, in the next couple of weeks, and it may come into clarity as we get towards the winter meetings, are the Padres going to have one or more of their relievers start to work towards being a starting pitcher in 2026? Could that be a Mason Miller? I have thoughts on that. Could that be an Adrian Morahone? I have thoughts on that. You may have heard him before. Could that be a David Morgan? I'm not telling you that signing Kyle Hart makes it easier for you to take one of those guys and make him into a starter, but you could look at a situation where, hey, when you go and add bullpen arms to an already really good bullpen, it may give you a little bit more wiggle room to take a guy and make him a starter. Again, is Kyle Hart Mason Miller? No. Is Kyle Hart Adrian Morahone? No. Is Kyle Hart David Morgan? No. But if you had another effective arm that you believe in, could give you a little bit more wiggle room to transition one of those guys into a starting role. All right, when we come back, we'll talk San Diego State football, recap what happened this weekend. We've got Marcelo Balboa, plenty of SDFC talk coming up later in the hour. Sam Levitt filling in for Braden Surprenant on this Monday morning. We're back in a moment on 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by IHOP, introducing the IHOP Value Menu, where all your breakfast faves are just $6 each every day. Where else can you get a big filling sit-down breakfast for only $6? Go to your happy plates with the $6 IHOP Value Menu, available every day at IHOP, $7 in some locations. Sam Levitt with you, 10 to 2 here on 97.3 The Fan on this Monday. Good to have you with us as we begin a brand new week. Frank Marchese, the esteemed producer of the Braden Surprenant Show, joining us right now as well. We will return to Padres talk in the 11 a.m. hour. Rest of this hour, we'll touch on a couple of different things, talk about the Aztecs, their big win over Boise State on the football field on Saturday, and we'll chat with Marcelo Balboa in just about 10 to 15 minutes. Talk about SDFC's matchup against Minnesota United a week from tonight in the Western Conference semifinal at Snapdragon Stadium. All right, let me set the scene for you as far as the Aztecs game on Saturday. Obviously, a really, really big game against Boise State on Saturday. I'm sitting there in Hawaii on Oahu. Talked to Frank a little bit over the weekend. Frank said to me, you got to watch this Aztecs game if you want to do the show on Monday. You got to know what's going on with the Aztecs game. So, look, it was a little difficult. I'm enjoying a nice vacation. I'm in Hawaii. Kept an eye on it, recorded it on the YouTube TV, went back to it a little bit later. But before I actually went back to watch highlights of the game, fast forward through it a little bit, I looked at the box score. And keep in mind, I'm sitting in Hawaii. I'm not really thinking about the weather here in San Diego, although I knew it was raining. But I'm looking at the box score, and I see the Aztecs win 17-7, which is great. The Aztecs have 294 yards of total offense. Okay, a little low, but that's okay. But then I see the passing yards. I see Jaden Denegal, 6 completions on 10 attempts, 17 yards through the air. That was it. And I think to myself, what on earth? I mean, the Aztecs run the ball well, but what on earth? And then I go and watch the highlights, and I'm like, oh, it was pouring.
Yeah. Oh, it's a torrential downpour.
Nobody wanted to throw the ball. So what did the Aztecs do? Well, they had a great day on the ground, 277 yards rushing total. Lucky Sutton, local guy, 150 yards rushing. Denegal rushed for 2 TDs. And the Aztecs get a really, really big win against Boise State. Frank, you watched it in real time. Any thoughts?
It was a slog of a game. It really was. And for San Diego State, we talked about it on Friday. This was by far and away the biggest game of the year for San Diego State, and their biggest game that they've played in quite a while, because you had a 6-way tie for second place in the conference standings if you did not win this game. And that's exactly what you have. Now you set yourself ahead of the pack. You're 5-1 in the conference, and you have 5 teams, Fresno State, Boise State, New Mexico, UNLV, and Hawaii, all at 4-2. So if you did not win on Saturday night, you had the very real potential. If you lost to San Jose State this upcoming weekend, you had the real potential of going from 1st to 7th in the Mountain West Conference in 2 weeks.
So as you alluded to, Aztecs have taken control of the Mountain West at 5-1 in the Mountain West, 8-2 overall. You now have a 5-way tie for second place. Boise State, Fresno State, Hawaii, New Mexico, UNLV, now in that 5-way tie for second. As you alluded to, 2 games left in Mountain West play against San Jose State at home this coming week, and then a tough game at New Mexico the following week. Now, of course, the really cool thing, the Aztecs are right now in position to host the Mountain West Championship here in San Diego. And look, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not like I'm paying attention to every snap that San Diego State plays.
And we'll have a lot more when Braden comes back tomorrow on this game.
However, I know enough to say this. This has been a really, really, really nice job by Sean Lewis and this program to have the season they had last year and to look the way they've looked and get some of the quality of wins in conference they've had this year, a year after what they experienced in 2024. It's remarkably impressive. I thought Sean Lewis had a great quote after the game. He said, quote, "A year ago, A lot of people talked about the gap between our two programs, referring to Boise State. He said the gap doesn't seem too significant now, does it? And he's right. I mean, look, obviously, weather played a factor, but the Aztecs found a way. They ran the football. Lucky Sutton was great. Senegal found a way in the end zone a couple of times. And look, it is not likely, but it is not impossible if the Aztecs took care of their business and beat San Jose State and beat New Mexico, and they got help, and they need significant help, and they probably have to win those two games with some style.
Definitely at least one to almost guarantee yourself in.
Yes, the college football playoff, again, is it likely? No.
Oh,
is it impossible? Well, they'd need a lot of help, and they'd have to win with a lot of style. But forget about that for a second. I think hosting, number one, playing for it, but especially hosting the title game, that well exceeds what the expectations were for this team heading into the year based on what they were last year. They deserve a lot of credit. They've done a really, really nice job. I know there's been a lot of talk about the attendance and the fan support. I don't have a ton of thoughts on that because I'm not as dialed into it as I probably should be. But from a football standpoint on the field, this has been a really, really, really nice season. I read something in the San Diego Union Tribune from Kirk Kenney about the number of recruits they had on the sideline on Saturday. Obviously, it was raining. It was not a great day. It was not like a San Diego Chamber of Commerce type day, which we seem to have 99% of the time. But good for the program. Good for them to get recruits in there and see them beat a team in Boise State that everybody knows about. A team in Boise State that was in the playoff. So really, really good win. And if you're an Aztec football fan, I think you have to be thrilled with what they've done. You think you have to be very high on Sean Lewis and what he continues to do.
Speaking of Sean Lewis,
how about them Aztecs?
That they were projected 4 wins this year. So the fact that they've doubled that with 2 games to go is absolutely massive for this program. And I honestly thought that the weather would be a little bit more of a hindrance for them because San Diego State not used to playing in weather like that. Up in Boise, you're more used to playing in weather like that. So I thought that Boise State was going to be able to handle the game a little bit better. Now, granted, they didn't have Maddox, their starting quarterback. Their backup went 12 for 18, so he did try to air the ball out a little bit. But good on Jaden Denegal for giving what was taken to him. 6 for 10 for 17 yards doesn't look all that great. But then you see, as you mentioned before, Lucky Sutton, 25 carries, 150 yards. Denegal with both of the touchdowns that were scored for San Diego State in the game. So, yeah, it was a grinded out game for sure. And it puts San Diego State in a great spot to at least clinch themselves into the Mountain West Championship game. Whether they host it or not is really going to depend on what they do against San Jose State.
Yeah.
But this was a huge step to take a load of pressure off of them.
Yeah. Look, if you're the Aztecs, you just have to keep on playing the way you've been playing. Look, week to week, it's college football. You could go play San Jose State and get beat. You've got to keep your foot on the gas pedal. But what a nice feather in the cap it would be for Sean Lewis in this program to not only play for a Mountain West title, but host it here in San Diego. And guess what? From a fan standpoint, I think it's really good too. I know there's been a lot of talk about the fan support and the crowds at Snapdragon Stadium. One of the ways, and San Diego has proven this time and time again, you put a good product on the field and you win, fans will show up. I firmly believe that for the Aztecs, that fans will show up more as long as they keep playing the way they're playing. So we'll see. But it really, really nice win. Really interesting game in the rain. And the Aztecs beat Boise State 17-7. Again, San Jose State on Saturday at Snapdragon Stadium, and then at New Mexico in a couple of weeks. And so right now, San Diego State in position to host the Mountain West Championship here in San Diego. All right, a lot to do over the course of the next few hours. When we come back, we're going to take a little bit of a turn. We're going to talk San Diego FC. San Diego FC hosting Minnesota United in the Western Conference semifinal in the MLS playoffs. Big match. A week from today. It's a little ways away, but we were able to get a really good guest on today's show. It'll be Marcelo Balboa, analyst on Apple TV's MLS broadcasts, former U.S. national team defender, member of the National Soccer Hall of Fame, played in 3 FIFA World Cups. He will break down this matchup a week from today against Minnesota United when we come back on 97.3 The Fan. 10:33 a.m. here on 97.3 The Fan. Sam Levitt with you, filling in for Braden Surprenant on this Monday morning, taking you up until 2 p.m. here in San Diego on what is a beautiful, beautiful Monday after a weekend full of rain. All guests on 97.3 The Fan join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapiro.law.com. Well, right now we are thrilled to be joined, just a terrific guest joining us. It is Marcelo Balboa, Spanish language match analyst on Apple TV's MLS broadcast. Let me read his resume before we bring him in, because this is just outstanding. Former U.S. national team defender, member of the National Soccer Hall of Fame, played in 3 FIFA World Cups, 2-time All-American at San Diego State, 5 MLS All-Star selections in 6 seasons. Marcelo Balboa joining us to break down San Diego FC's matchup in the Western Conference semifinal a week from tonight against Minnesota United. Marcelo, I would imagine this is a very exciting time of year for you. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We're doing great, and we are getting ready to go a week from tonight for SDFC, and what a season it's been for San Diego FC. Let's start there, Marcelo, before we get into the intricacies of this matchup against Minnesota United. I mean, this has just been, here in San Diego, a remarkable, amazing inaugural season for SDFC. I think beyond any expectations any of us could have had on the field, what they've done, the way they've played. When you zoom out a little bit and you look at what they've been this year, your thoughts on just this inaugural year for SDFC?
Listen, it's been a fantastic year. When the season starts with an expansion team, you're never 100% sure how it's going to go, what it's going to do. But from day one, they've stuck to their game plan, their game model. They've told us very clearly they wanted to play attractive soccer. They brought in players that can play that style of soccer. So, when you're looking at guys like Dreyer, Chucky, Tverskov, I mean, you're looking at Valacara, you're looking at guys who have just molded and blended perfectly together to have this, I mean, let's be honest, the best start of any franchise in MLS history.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Marcelo Balboa joining us here on 97.3 The Fan, breaking down San Diego FC hosting Minnesota United a week from tonight in the Western Conference semifinal of the MLS playoffs. Let's talk a little bit about Anders Dreyer, 2025 MLS Newcomer of the Year, 19 goals, just a terrific, terrific season. Your thoughts on what he's meant to this SDFC club?
Listen, everybody's important, but when you talk about special players, there's no better player in this league besides Messi than the way Dreyer's playing this year.
Oh, wow.
He has been absolutely fantastic. I mean, if it wasn't for Messi into the regular season, into the playoffs, if it wasn't for Messi, I think Dreyer would have been the MVP of the league this year. He has played that well. He is that important to that team. His movement, the way he reads the game, it's just above and beyond what we thought. You know what I mean? When he came into the league. So listen, you see him on the right, you see him on the left, you see him in the middle, you see him attacking, you see him defending. Every aspect of the game he covers. And he has had a phenomenal year. And I mean, when you have a guy like that and you have players that complement him too, that's the kind of season you have. You have a record-setting season and still fighting and pushing on in the playoffs, trying to get to an MLS Cup.
Marcelo, let's switch gears a little bit, focus on this matchup against Minnesota United. Obviously, a quality club they have in Minnesota, coming here to San Diego a week from tonight. For fans that maybe have followed MLS a little bit more casually this season, how would you sum up what Minnesota United does well? Why are they here?
Listen, Minnesota does a few things well, but the biggest thing they do is they know how to defend. And when they play in that low block and that 5-4-1, and you've got national team St. Clair in goal, national team goalkeeper for Canada, this is a very difficult team to break down. And when you do break them down, you have to punish them. You have to finish. And that's what San Diego didn't do. If you remember the last game, they lost at home against Minnesota, and San Diego created tons of chances first half. They couldn't put the game away. They couldn't put one in. They couldn't put a second one in. So as long as the game went on, all of a sudden San Diego opened up a little bit more, and that's where in transition, the counterattacks is where Minnesota and set pieces, they are very dangerous. So listen, San Diego, for me, the key is going to be putting one away early and putting one up quick on a team like Minnesota.
Let's talk a little bit about Dane St. Clair, the goalkeeper for Minnesota. Like you said, a big role on the Canadian national team, 2025 MLS goalkeeper of the year. So obviously he's had a great season. To you, if you're in that SDFC planning room, their locker room getting ready for this one, how are you getting ready to attack a goalkeeper the quality of St. Clair?
Listen, I don't think you're going to see San Diego move very far from their game model. They've been very good throughout the regular season. They've been very good in the playoffs using the outsides with Dreyer. We've seen Valakari, Chucky, Pellegrino has been on fire. So listen, I don't think you change much. The only thing you work on maybe a little bit more is defending set pieces, because they're that good on set pieces, especially corners. So I think that's probably one of the few things they've worked on. Besides that, I don't see this team. They haven't changed for anybody. Why would you change now?
We're joined by Marcelo Balboa, Spanish language match analyst on Apple TV's MLS broadcasts. Marcelo, former U.S. national team defender, member of the National Soccer Hall of Fame. Great to have Marcelo with us, breaking down SDFC and Minnesota United FC squaring off on Monday, a week from today at Snapdragon Stadium in the Western Conference semifinal. Marcelo, you mentioned Chucky Lozano. Obviously, it's been an interesting month or so for Chucky, and SDFC made 2 appearances off the bench in round 1 of the playoffs, scored a goal, had an assist. Yep. Just your thoughts on that situation. What's gone on with Chucky Lozano, and do you think he's done enough to return to a starting role in this conference semifinal?
Listen, I think things happen all the time in the locker room. You know what I mean? It's important for the coach, the franchise, and the player to sit down, figure it out, and make sure that they're all on the same page, because there's always going to be little battles here and there. So I think it's been taken care of. We saw Chucky score in Portland. We saw him play very well at home the other day. Unfortunately, he came off the field the other day against Uruguay with a little bit of an injury, which we're hoping is not too bad. But listen, it's part of sports. There's always going to be, not everybody gets along, not everybody sees the game the same way, but it's important to respect each other. And I think that right now, to be honest with you, I'm not sure how you put Chucky on, because Pellegrino's been on fire. He has been very steady. He's been very good. He's been very dangerous. He's scoring goals. So you know what they say, when it ain't broke, don't fix it.
We're joined by Marcelo Balboa here on 97.3 The Fan, breaking down SDFC and Minnesota United FC. Marcelo, if we could just take a little bit of a wider look at some of the other matchups across the MLS playoffs conference semifinals. You've got Vancouver and LAFC. You've got Cincinnati and Miami. You've got Philadelphia and NYC playing with each other. What stands out to you among those matches for people here in San Diego that maybe want to get a little taste of MLS playoff action before the game between SDFC and Minnesota?
I mean, all great matchups, let's be honest. LAFC and Vancouver both are playing very good soccer right now, and especially with Bawanga and Son with LAFC, and then you bring in Mueller for Vancouver, so that ought to be an interesting matchup. The other one is we want to see Miami and Cincinnati. You know, can Miami get into a Eastern Conference final? Can they get to an MLS Cup with Messi there? I think that's a huge challenge for them going to Cincinnati. And then, listen, NYC surprised everybody. 2 games on the road, they win. And against Charlotte, they get into the next round. So, yeah, now they got the number 1 seed Philly with their star striker just tore an ACL. So it looks like he's out for the playoffs. So I don't know. I mean, you've got great matchups and should be a great weekend. And then we're in San Diego on Monday for that game. That ought to be a great way to end I guess, end the weekend and start the week, I guess, kind of Monday game.
Right. Now, long weekend is how we'll think about it. Hey, Marcelo, before I let you go, just to focus kind of on some of your San Diego ties. Obviously, you had a very decorated career at San Diego State. This has been a lot of fun to watch what's transpired with SDFC this season, not just from the soccer standpoint, but from the fan standpoint, seeing the atmosphere at Snapdragon Stadium. What has it been like for you to watch San Diego embrace this team the way it has? I mean, look, I mostly work on the Padres here in San Diego. Amazing fan support there. It certainly is translated to SDFC, and it really has been so much fun to watch. Just from the San Diego standpoint, what has this been like for you to watch kind of what's evolved this season?
One, I think it was a long time coming to get a franchise in San Diego. You know what I mean? It's we've shown with the Nomads, the Surf, and all the club teams and all the players that have come out of San Diego that it was one of these days we knew it was going to happen. So when I heard about it, I mean, I was happy as a peacock. There's no if, buts about it. I think it's a great soccer town, sports town, and the fans have been fantastic. The last 2 games sold out. Atmosphere was crazy, and San Diego did a great job of entertaining on the field. The franchise did a nice job of making the stadium electric inside and outside. So I think everything you can think of when you talk about an expansion team, they've checked every box off so far this year.
Marcelo, appreciate the time. Great job breaking down this matchup between SDFC and Minnesota United FC on Monday. Have a great broadcast, and hope to talk to you again sometime down the road. Thanks so much.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
All right, Marcelo Balboa, Spanish language match analyst on Apple TV's MLS broadcasts. I read you down the resume earlier. Former U.S. national team defender, member of the National Soccer Hall of Fame, played in 3 FIFA World Cups, 2-time All-American at San Diego State. List goes on and on with a lot of nice thoughts there about SDFC's matchup on Monday. And I'm sure Frank and Braden will get into it as the week goes along to get a little bit closer to that matchup on Monday. But Frank is much more the soccer aficionado than I am. He has been locked into SDFC all year long. So, Frank, what stood out to you about what Marcelo said? Your thoughts on SDFC heading into next week's matchup in the conference semifinal?
I mean, he's absolutely correct. And the fact that Anders Dreyer has just been unbelievable. I'm sorry. I understand but it's Lionel Messi. I understand the bias there, but he is Anders Dreyer by far and away was the league MVP this year. 19 goals, 17 assists, 18 assists. I mean, he was just unbelievable all year long. And you could tell that he meant more to the San Diego FC club than honestly Chucky Lozano did, because Amal Pellegrino got right in and picked up whatever slack you may have thought you had after Chucky Lozano was out over these last couple of games. And Pellegrino has now really established himself as a starting key player in the starting 11 for San Diego FC.
Let me ask you a question, because you know this better than I do. Who was Dreyer before this season? Like, could you have expected him to be anywhere close to this good?
Absolutely not. Now, I'm not, believe it or not, I'm not all that key on the Danish league.
But this has come out of nowhere.
Yes. Yeah, you knew he was going to be a contributor. You didn't think he was going to be the entire club the way he has been. He has been unbelievable. You were expecting Chucky Lozano to carry the heavy load for this team. You were expecting local players like Luca. I want to say it's
okay. I don't know either.
I'm sure it's De Los. I want to say it's De Los Santos. I don't know if it's. I forget off the top of my head right now. But you expected him, being a local kid, to really carry some of the load out of the midfield. You had veteran players like Godoy in there, Boateng coming off the bench, veteran players that have played all over the world. And now you have Anders Dreyer come in and just completely blow all that up.
Let's before we wrap up SDFC talk, and we may get to a little bit more of it towards the end of the show with Darnay Tripp, who actually does a great job with SDFC, covering them for NBC7. Really knows his stuff. When I had him on a couple of weeks ago, I was filling in for Ben and Woods. Thought Darnay was outstandanding. So we will talk a little bit more about SDFC.
It's Luca De La Torre.
Okay, Luca De La Torre. It's okay.
I should have known that.
We'll talk more with Darnay towards the end of the show about it. But just one more thing on SDFC, because I'm interested to hear your thoughts. What have been your thoughts on the Chucky Lozano situation throughout the last month?
It is what it is, really. I mean, I understand from the star player perspective, and you can say it in any sport. You don't want to get taken out as a star player, a key contributing player. And you have your moments when you're in the heat of battle and you're getting told, hey, we're going to sit you down for this one. You can see a guy like Manny Machado possibly blowing up a little bit on the manager for that decision.
I don't think Manny would like that.
Yeah. Now you can also see where Lozano may have crossed over a line, where the team was forced to make set an example, set a precedent, and say, hey, if you say this to our coaching staff or to management or whoever, you're going to face some sort of penalty for it. I think it's a little telling that he hasn't been in the starting 11 since then. And I think most of that has to do with how good Amal Pellegrino has been in his place.
Right.
You don't want to take the hot foot out. It's kind of like when Alosky came in, when you started to get injuries piling up at the striker position, you don't want to take out the hot foot.
Yeah.
And Pellegrino has that right now. But I honestly don't mind how San Diego FC handled that. I'm happy that they stood on business, regardless of the result that it may have brought on the field. But I mean, I think it was earned. I think it was justified. Now we don't know any of the details of what he said, but I think it was justified.
Yeah, my take on it. Let me preface this by saying, very uninformed take. Just a casual observer reading a headline and a tweet here and there. My take on it at the time, okay, before they beat Portland in the best of three, was, what could he have said that's so bad where you're willing to risk not playing this guy?
I remember
in a
texting
playoff series.
I
was texting
texting
you
during
about
game
this
one.
because I was like, this is crazy. Well, let me give you the Padres standpoint. And let's take whoever, Manny, just for example, okay? Star player, okay? Look, there are reasons if a player does something, you hold them out. But let's say it was just an argument in the clubhouse over whatever, okay? Something baseball related, okay? Maybe it gets heated. Maybe it's a little uncomfortable for everybody, but it's an argument. It's words. Imagine the Padres in a wild card series saying, hey, Manny, he got into a little argument with Mike Schilt, and you know what? We're actually going to keep Manny off the wild card roster. Could you imagine? No. So my point was, what could have been so bad? Now, I don't know. It could have been. But what could have been so bad to hold him out? Again, I have no inside knowledge of what happened. But just from my very, very casual observation, I was like, you better win this series.
I mean, at least
I want to know what he said.
Exactly. I would like to know what pushed San Diego FC to do that. But again, I applaud San Diego FC at the same time, because you ran a risk of not only not getting the number 1 seed, because he sat out the last game of the regular season as well, and falling behind in a crucial playoff series where ties don't count anymore. You have to win these games if you want to advance. So I applaud them for standing on business, for saying, listen, I don't care how good you are. I don't care how important to this team you are. You are not bigger than the team. We're not going to let things slide just to get you on the pitch, just so you can play, just so we can win.
Well, at least they did win.
Yeah, exactly.
Had they lost that
they won
series,
they won both of those games fair-handedly too.
Convincingly.
Yes.
The 2 wins. Yes. All right. Should be fun. Are you going to that match Monday?
I'm going to try. Yes,
Well,
I would love to.
I
would love to go there.
You got a credential?
Not yet. No.
You talked to Adam about that?
Will you relax?
You need a ticket? I can probably get you a ticket.
I don't need a ticket.
I've got connections.
That's cool.
Throughout this city.
That's cool.
I bet you can get a credential.
I'm sure I could as well. I would love one.
You go to the press conference when you go to those matches?
No, I don't.
Do they have a pre-match press conference?
No, it's just
the players talk on the podium. So when do the
every
players
now
talk?
and again. You'll get the players most likely will talk during media availability during the week if they do it all.
Is the locker room open after the game?
No.
So
it's not like a baseball.
So they don't have to talk to the media after the match.
No, it's usually if they do, they go in the interview. That's
interesting. You would think that
there are
American sports culture that's so standard that would have seeped in, but that would be very odd.
There are times like usually like if like man of the match, we'll talk on the field after the game, but it's not like a regular posting.
All right, we got to work on that. MLS, get me in the clubhouse. In the locker room. I'll ask the tough questions in there. Hour number 2 on a Monday coming up after this. 11 a.m. here on 97.3 The Fan on this Monday. Sam Levitt filling in for Braden Surprenant here on the Braden Surprenant Show every day, 10 to 2 p.m. here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We've got Gwynn and Chris coming in today, 2 to 6 p.m. The award-winning Scraby Show from 6 to 7 p.m. A busy day of sports talk here on 97.3 The Fan. All guests on 97.3 The Fan join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com.
I think you're going to be missing out on that award-winning Scraby Show today.
What's that?
Monday Night Football.
Oh,
we got.
I forgot.
Football.
Monday Night Football.
All right, sorry, I gave the wrong schedule. So, what's the Monday night game? Dallas and Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's. I heard Dak Prescott's mother
say that. I should be marketing our broadcast.
I heard Dak Prescott's mother has a root canal that she scheduled specifically for the start time of that game.
Cowboys
so she will be missing it.
And Raiders 3-5-1. Cowboys 2-7. Las Vegas Raiders. So you'll enjoy it. So pregame for that is what? You know,
well, television.
What time
is all day.
What time does the radio broadcast start here?
I don't know.
Five something.
I don't listen to football.
Right. Well, there's no.
I barely watch it on television.
By the way, speaking of the NFL, we are going to do some NFL headlines, little Sunday recap, a little bit later. I think in the noon hour.
Okay.
You got like a little NFL bumper music there?
No.
Great.
We're prepared. We're prepared here.
So we'll do that a little bit later in the noon hour. I wrote down some notes to do a little NFL Sunday recap. But yes, we will have the Cowboys and the Raiders later on today here on 97.3 The Fan. No Scraby Show. So
no
we're going to miss that today, unfortunately.
That'll be tomorrow.
That'll be tomorrow and Wednesday, and then they're off for Thursday Night Football, I would assume. So, hey, is what it is. Got to get that Monday and Thursday Night Football in. What direction did I want to go in here? We talked about SDFC.
Yeah.
That was a good conversation for the SDFC fans out there. Again, plenty of time to talk about their matchup against Minnesota United FC on Monday, a week from today. So Braden and Frank will get into that a little bit later. Darnay Tripp will join us. NBC7 does a great job covering San Diego sports. He does a great job covering SDFC as well. So we'll mention that with Darnay a little bit later. Again, AJ Cassavell, MLB.com, Padres beat reporter, will join us at 12:40. And I do want to jump back into a little Padres talk here because we do have the details of the Kyle Hart contract. And again, you might be sitting there this morning as I talk about Kyle Hart and saying, Sam, let's not treat this like this is earth-shattering news. But I'm going to tell you why you should pay attention for a couple of reasons. And I touched on it in the opening segment at 10 a.m. this morning. To me, there are a couple of reasons why you got to pay attention to it. There's the baseball side, which we got to. Okay, what could Kyle Hart be for you? It could be starting depth. I don't know that you love that necessarily, but he's certainly, based on what he did against lefties and what he can do with that sweeper and a little Ruben Niebla magic. I certainly feel like, does Kyle Hart have some potential to be a solid bullpen lefty specialist type arm? Yeah, I do. I think there's a little bit of that there, and I wouldn't be shocked if that's the way the Padres view him. But let's focus on the contract part of it, because I think that's something to pay attention to a little bit. This is from Robert Murray of Fansided, writing here on X. Details on Kyle Hart's contract with the San Diego Padres per source. 1 year, $1 million with a $2.5 million club option for 2027, $200,000 buyout. It includes escalators on games pitched that can increase the buyout to $500,000, and escalators on games started that can increase the club option to $4.5 million. So again, the base is 1 year, $1 million, $2.5 million club option for 27, escalators that could get it up to as much as $4.5 million. But what you have to worry about for this year is 1 year, $1 million. Is $1 million a lot of money? No. Is it what Kyle Hart should get? Yeah. The reason I do think you got to pay attention even to these little deals is because of this. I'm going to read a paragraph here. This was from Dennis Lynn's article in The Athletic last week, once the Seidler family announced they were exploring their strategic options and a potential sale of the Padres. But this was the payroll part of it from Dennis that I want to focus on here. Fangraphs estimates the Padres, before filling obvious needs for starting pitching and a corner bat, are carrying a 2026 payroll of $201 million. San Diego ended last season at $211 million, and team sources indicate that next year's target could fall in the same neighborhood. So, again, I don't know what the payroll flexibility is going to be. I feel like we have this conversation every year. I feel like we start it in one place, and there have been examples of it not quite ending up where it's been reported on. It's been higher than that. But let's live in a world right now where that is the wiggle room, where you've got, $10 million or so to spend and a ton of holes to fill, especially in your rotation. And obviously you want a power bat. You want that home run hitting first base bat. We all know the Padres sorely need that. Well, you gave Kyle Hart $1 million. So, again, if you don't have a ton of wiggle room payroll wise, then you've got to be, from a fan standpoint, I think you've got to be watching these deals and saying, okay, well, they gave Kyle Hart $1 million. What does it mean for maybe the greater plan for this offseason? Can we take anything away from the Padres proactively bringing a Kyle Hart back for $1 million? I think you could a little bit, because when you look at the starting pitching market, okay, let's start with the top of the list, okay? And again, keep the payroll flexibility or lack thereof in mind. And Dylan Cease, Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez, and those guys are going to get big deals. And Nick Martinez, Chris Bassett, Michael King, maybe not as big of deals as the other guys, but they're going to get significant money. Shota Imanaga, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Zach Littell, Patrick Corbin. Now we're getting into a little bit of a different territory, quality of player. Eric Fetty, Justin Verlander, Zach Eflin, Miles Michaelis, Nestor Cortez, Adrian Hauser, Lucas Giolito, Andrew Heaney. The point is, the Padres have so much they need in that rotation that, to me, that is from a roster building standpoint, the key question of this offseason is, how do they fill that? Is that going to be from a free agent standpoint where they choose, I suppose, maybe more quantity over quality? And what I mean by that is focusing on the, on the lower tiers of the market, guys that you could sign for $1 million, $2 million, have escalators, have incentives. I mean, I don't know that you're going to get thrilled about those names, but this team needs a lot as far as starting pitching. And if the money you have to spend, if they want to keep the payroll, just based on Dennis's reporting, if they want to keep the payroll at around 211 and you're sitting at 201, and this is no secret, okay, I'm not breaking any news here, but AJ, much like he has the last couple of years, is going to have to get incredibly creative. And he is once again going to have to hit on a lot. Now, AJ's done that pretty well the last couple of years in a lot of ways. We know 2024, what he did with guys like Solano and what he did with guys like David Peralta, what he did last year. Were there some misses? Yeah, the Yuli Gurriels and the Jason Haywards. But Nick Pivetta was a genius signing. Gavin Sheets was a tremendous acquisition. AJ hit. Now, he didn't get 100% on the hits, but he had some guys that you had questions about coming in that played really big roles on the 2025 Padres. So it goes without saying, if your payroll is going to have only a little bit of wiggle room and you're sitting at 201 right now and you can only get it up, let's say $10 million. Again, I don't know that to be the case. We're just going on the reporting from Dennis here. I hope it's higher. Be great if it was. Well, I know it might not be the news that people want to hear. I know that Kyle Hart signing this morning isn't going to knock your socks off. but this could be kind of what they do in getting some options in here, some arms they like, having guys compete at spring training, having depth pieces, and you try to roll with it, and you try to keep this thing together and be in the hunt by the time the trade deadline rolls around. And in classic AJ fashion, go get what you need at the deadline. Look, to me, and we'll get into it a little bit more after the break. If I were AJ Preller, I'm looking at this rotation, and I could make the argument that any dollar I had to spend needs to go to that rotation. That's not to say the Padres don't need a bat. They do. But you look at this team, the lineup, their offense, do they have needs? Yeah. But do I think they're in a pretty good spot right here, right now, November 17th? I do. I think they're in a very good spot. The bullpen, I think it's in an excellent spot. Now, the big question mark there is, you're going to have a Mason Miller, and Adrian Morejon, and David Morgan transition into a starter. Then we've got to start talking about the bullpen and what that looks like. But right now, man, you look at that rotation and you just put a big red circle around it. I can make the argument to you that any dollar they have to spend should go towards that rotation. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I do want to touch on Craig Stammen as well. I haven't talked a ton about him. I was on the air the Thursday morning when the news broke of the Padres hiring Craig Stammen. I will talk a little bit about that. We'll continue to talk Padres. We'll talk Fernando Tatis Jr. as well. I've got some stuff prepared on him, and continue rolling on Padres, Aztecs, SDFC. We'll talk a little NFL. We've got some other storylines coming up until 2 p.m. right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I can't say I've ever woke up on the wrong side of the truck bed myself, but who sings that? Do you know? You got that there?
That'd be Hardy.
Who?
Hardy.
Hardy. Unfamiliar. Hey, you can't count on much, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Stream your local NFL game live every Sunday, all season long, starting at just $30 for your first year. That's like $2.50 a month. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. Speaking of the NFL, just had this news come across my desk. The New York Jets are making a quarterback change, switching to Tyrod Taylor from Justin Fields. Adam Schefter of ESPN reporting, apparently first reported by The Athletic. So that should do it for the Jets. That'll turn their season right around.
That'll fix them. That'll do.
Oh, the Jets. What a joke. Speaking of, we'll get back to Padres talk here in a second. I did have this written down on my list here. Airplane Wi-Fi. Sunday, yesterday, I'm on the way back from Hawaii. I'm thinking to myself, okay, watch some NFL, late game windows finishing. Turn on my NFL app, my Red Zone app, watch some NFL. Not going to name the airline, but this airline, both going to Hawaii and flying back to San Diego, the Wi-Fi, just brutal, absolutely brutal. Now, but before I really dive in here, okay, let me make something very clear. I have a deep appreciation for airlines, pilots, the crew. I think people are way too hard on this stuff. Okay, their job, in my opinion, first and foremost, is to get you up, get you to your destination, and get you down on the ground. And as long as they do that, even if there is a delay, I'm good. I'm happy. With that said, I'm sitting there on the plane. I can't get the Wi-Fi to work on my phone. I can barely get the Wi-Fi to work on my laptop. And I was sitting there thinking, all the advancements in tech the last decade and a half, AI, you get a new iPhone every year. Think how far we've come with the iPhone, with your laptop, AI, video, social media. Is it me, or has there been incredibly little advancement with airplane Wi-Fi? Is airplane Wi-Fi any better than it was 7 years ago, 8 years ago?
Look,
I don't think so.
I understand that.
Why can't they get it right? Why can't it be better? It seems like something in 2025 that should be way more operational.
I understand that Wi-Fi is integrated into airplanes now, so they always have it. Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that you were over the middle of the ocean, where they don't need to send like Wi-Fi signals and have Wi-Fi satellites? You think that has anything to do with the fact that you couldn't get Wi-Fi on your plane?
No,
you were in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
I'm being a little harsh on it because, look, it did work on my laptop, kind of, but I've been on multiple airlines, many planes where you have Wi-Fi issues. I'm a little shocked that we don't have more advancement on this, that it's not revved up to a level where it's like, oh, this is high-speed internet right on the plane.
Sam Levitt wants 5G hardline Wi-Fi over the Pacific Ocean.
Well, maybe. I think we can get there.
Over the Pacific Ocean.
Hook it up to a satellite. Anyway, that's what I was thinking on the plane.
What satellite
yesterday.
do you think they have coordinated over the Pacific?
I don't know.
The heart of the Pacific Ocean.
Let me make it very clear. This is champagne problems.
No kidding.
Okay. You get me up, you get me to my destination, you get me down on the ground safely. I'm good.
Greatest airline ever.
I am not a person who ever tweets, complains about airline stuff, tweeting to Twitter accounts of people who are not going to be able to help you at all when you're sitting on the tarmac, at Cleveland Airport. I don't do that. but shout out to everybody who works for the airlines. You do a great job. Get me up, get me down. We're good. All right, back to more appropriate talk. We talked about Kyle Hart. We were talking about the payroll and what it could mean, and some of the flexibility or lack thereof the Padres may have this offseason. I did want to touch on Craig Stammen a little bit here because he got introduced a week ago today. Thought he did a great job. Okay. I was on the air with Ben on Ben and Woods when the news broke. We broke it down, I thought, pretty well. It was an immediate reaction. I thought Craig did a great job on Monday. I really did. I thought he speaks well. I thought he came across exactly how he comes across to the media generally. And that is as a really good guy, really, really well-spoken, very likable, good guy. A lot of baseball knowledge. This is a guy that is very, very, very well respected and I think commands immediate respect inside that clubhouse. So I thought Craig did a great job. I did. I thought he came off very, very well during that press conference, and I thought he won it, right? We always do that with the press conferences, especially when you introduce a new manager. Can manager win the press conference? And I thought Craig did. Now, there are a couple of questions moving forward here. I think number one, who is on Craig's staff, right? We know Victor Rodriguez is not going to be on it. We know Tim Leeper is not going to be on it. We know Ruben Niebla is going to be on it, but I'm fascinated to see who Craig picks as his bench coach, because to me, that's an important position for a guy in Craig Stammen who has never been a manager at any level. To me, you would kind of love to see that guy. And again, if he doesn't, no big deal. I trust Craig to choose somebody he trusts in that spot. Just to trust the Padres to choose somebody good for that spot. But I don't think it's unfair to say, hey, probably would be good if that guy has some experience at the major league level as a manager, somebody that Craig Stammen can lean on. So, look, we may not find that out for a while, what the rest of this staff looks like. I'm sure in the next month or so before the winter meetings, it'll start leaking out a little bit, and we'll have an idea of what this staff is going to look like. But I do think that's interesting to see what this staff looks like under Craig Stammen. Ben and Woods talked about it this morning. I think the hitting coach hire is going to be really interesting. Look, I thought Victor Rodriguez last year, I thought Victor got a lot of... I thought the criticism of Victor was unfair, and I just put it this way. I never put a ton of blame on hitting coaches in general, but my point last year, and I said it on post games a lot last season as people would call in and be all over Victor Rodriguez. My point last year was, well, hold on a second. In 2024, everybody loved Victor and the approach they had and the offensive team they were. Victor Rodriguez didn't forget in a calendar year how to be a hitting coach. So, if you had issues with some of the strategic parts of it, the bunting, the small ball, okay. I think that's a fair criticism. But I never put it on Victor. So with all that said, the hitting coach hire to me is going to be really interesting to see what kind of guy they bring in. Is it going to be somebody that will have more of a hit for power approach? Will it be somebody who buys more into Petco Park hitting and what this approach seemed to be last year? Will it be somebody that is a little more new age, a little bit more analytically based? I think it's an interesting hire, right? And it's an interesting offensive group to work with. You've got a lot of stars. You've got a really good lineup, I think, right here, right now, without an addition of a power bat, hopefully in some capacity. So that's going to be interesting to see who the hitting coach is. The other part of I think the Craig Stammen hire that is interesting as he got introduced and you hear him talk is, of course, just how he manages through these relationships. Look, I think Craig is going to demand immediate respect inside that clubhouse. Guys like him. He talked about it, has relationships with the star players on this team. Manny Machado being a prime example. He talked about that. But how Craig navigates those relationships through the ups and downs of a season, through losing streaks, through tough decisions and conversations, That's probably going to be a large part of what makes Craig Stammen a successful manager or not. I mean, wins and losses are going to be the ultimate thing, but how he's able to navigate those relationships that he had as a player, I think it's going to be a major, major part of this. How he balances being a friend of the players, being somebody players like, being a player's manager, but also having the ability to be their boss, to have a tough conversation with them. And look, it's hard to say how he will treat that because we've never seen it. But, and I said this at the time, do I think Craig Stammen has all the things, all the qualities to be a great hire? I do. I think he's well respected. He's likable. Good man. I mean, I've never heard anybody say a bad word about Craig Stammen. He's obviously got baseball knowledge. He has the cachet of being a longtime major leaguer. It's unique because he was a reliever. He's got relationships inside that clubhouse. But there's a lot for him to navigate. There is. There will be certainly ups and downs, right? A lot to navigate. Never been a manager at any level. You would imagine having a coaching staff that he can lean on will be important. And he said as much at his press conference. He said as much when he talked with Tony one-on-one afterwards. I think he understands that. I didn't get the sense hearing Craig Stammen. I did not get the sense that, he believes he's waltzing in and showing up and knowing how to do every part of the job. To me, he came across as somebody who understands this is going to be a learning process for him. And I would imagine having some guys on his coaching staff who have been there, done that from a managerial sense, I would imagine that could be important. It is very well possible that with Craig Stammen, that as fans, you grow through some of the, or I should say, you go through some of the growing pains with them, right? There may be growing pains for Craig Stammen. There may be some moments where there's a little first-time manager energy scenario. Maybe you disagree with something. But in the big picture of an 162-game season, in the relationship part of it, to me, Craig appears to have everything you would want. I said it at the time. If somebody told you that Craig Stammen from the outset was part of this process, I don't think anybody would have been surprised, because Craig has been that kind of guy. He's been that kind of player. He's been somebody that I think you could look at in his playing career and say, yeah, that guy would make a lot of sense as a manager. I could see it. It wasn't so much the person as it was the timing and the surprise that it was him. That, to me, was the really surprising part of it. But the surprise was not that it was Craig Stammen. It was that it came out of left field, and it was a name that had not been thrown around. It was a name that had not been reported on. So we'll see. Ultimately, Craig's going to get judged on the wins and the losses. He's going to inherit what I think should be a very, very solid team in 2026. We talked about it already. Padres have a lot of work to do, especially as far as the starting rotation. But is Craig going to have a chance here in year one to do some really, really good things right off the bat? Yeah, absolutely. And beyond anything, beyond relationships, beyond the quality of guy, what is he strategically? I think we all had questions last year about some of the strategies the Padres used, especially from an offensive standpoint. You want to talk about approach and the lack of power and blame that on a strategy part of it. I can believe that. I don't know how much that was a part of it, but I can buy that a little bit. But certainly from a small ball standpoint and all the bunting, things like that, we're going to see how Craig manages. We're going to see if he believes in those same philosophies. I don't know that he does. I don't know that he doesn't. But that's ultimately what Craig is going to be judged on. Things like, is he laying down sack bunts, or his players laying down sack bunts? How does he manage a bullpen? Does he give a starting pitcher a long leash? These are the things that he's going to get judged on day in, day out. And because he's never done it, and because we didn't really hear about that, because no fault of his, he wasn't really asked about it, and why would he be on day one? But we really don't know those answers yet from Craig Stammen, right? We don't know what kind of strategic manager he's going to be. I can say with confidence right now, he's going to be a very well-respected, likable baseball man inside that dugout. But from a strategy standpoint, from managing the bullpen standpoint, from a dealing with adversity, losses, post-game media availabilities, things like that, we're going to find out as we go. But I do think it has all the potential to be a great hire at the end of the day for the Padres, and I understand why they did it. And I do believe in Craig Stammen. I've seen that from him. I do believe in Craig Stammen, and we will see in 2026 on opening day and beyond how the Craig Stammen era unfolds. All right, we'll continue more Padres talk when we come back. Again, AJ Cassavell will join us 12:40 p.m. Darnay Tripp, NBC 7 will join us at 1:40. Much more to do on a Monday here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by IHOP, introducing the IHOP Value Menu, where all your breakfast faves are just $6 each every day. Where else can you get a big, filling, sit-down breakfast for only $6? Go to your happy plates with the $6 IHOP Value Menu, available every day at IHOP, $7 in some locations. That sounds good. I love when you go to IHOP, you get a stack of pancakes. They got those syrups. Side of the table, you just drench it in the syrup, maybe a little blueberry syrup. I think they got like pecan, however you say it, syrup. Now I want to go to IHOP for a little late lunch. That is one difficult part that I've learned whenever I fill in here on the 10 to 2. Very odd mealtime scenario. What are you going to do? What am I going to eat lunch at 2:30? Got to play softball tonight. Want to eat dinner before that. We got big time softball playoff matchup tonight.
Nice.
In Pacific Beach. So yes, that's on the agenda tonight. But yes, that's what's going on. Sam Levitt with you, filling in for Braden Surprenant until 2 p.m. And from what I understand, Frank Marchese has a sports thread for us here in the 11 a.m. hour. Frank.
Yep.
The one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk. Brought to you by QC Kinetics. Stop sitting on the sidelines. QC Kinetics gets you back in the game without surgery. To learn how, visit QCkinetics.com.
All righty. So let's get this started here with
Number 1.
college football rankings. College football rankings came out today. Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M. Boy, they had a scare on Saturday, did Texas A&M. They remain 1, 2, and 3. Georgia, with their win over Texas, goes up to number 4. Ole Miss goes up to number 5. Alabama, with their loss to Oklahoma. Oklahoma goes up to number 8. Alabama goes down from 4 to 10. Texas going from 10 to 17. They're 7 and 3. They should not be ranked. Teams that were that lost, that are now out of the rankings: Louisville, Cincinnati, Pitt, and South Florida. They have been replaced by North Texas, Missouri, Tulane, and Houston. San Diego State still getting 12 votes in the AP rankings, coming off of that win against Boise State this weekend.
All right, there we go. A lot of movement. I did. Who Texas A&M play? South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina.
But South Carolina had a big lead, right?
It was like 27 to 3. They were down like 30 to 3 and won 31-30. It was unbelievable.
How did now Braden went to watch TCU?
Yes.
Where, at BYU?
Yeah, TCU, BYU.
Did
yes.
TCU win?
No.
Wow.
No, they very much
not a good trick for
lost.
Braden.
No, it was not. They lost 44 to 13. So that did not go well.
What is Michigan ranked now?
Michigan is not ranked.
Ooh.
They
They're in
are
the top 25 though.
Yeah, they're
right?
not ranked. Yeah, they're not. Sorry, 18. There's 18. Sorry, my bad.
After a 24-22 win over my Northwestern Wildcats.
Yeah. 24-22?
Yeah. Northwestern almost beat them. Is that scoreagami? I don't know.
That's
weird score.
That's a tight game for a team like Michigan to be playing.
Hey, watch it.
Northwestern's not good.
Cats are dangerous.
They're not good. Let's be.
Look, I don't have. I've been way off college football this year for the most part. I don't have many thoughts on this, but tune in tomorrow to Braden. He'll have more.
Well, we got plenty of that coming tomorrow.
Number 2.
Abdul Carter for the New York Giants. We made fun of the second worst team in football over the last 10 years. Let's make fun of the worst team in football over the last 10 years now. Abdul Carter was benched for the New York Giants for the opening series because the rookie was asleep at the facility in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and missed a recent walkthrough. Carter did not play during the opening defensive series in the Giants' home loss to the Green Bay Packers. The linebacker took accountability after the game for the incident, which happened during the week. and said that he accepts the consequences for his actions.
It doesn't say there where he was sleeping in the facility?
No, it does not say. It was at the team facility. So
yeah,
with the hundreds of people that are at the team facility, no one thought, let's wake this kid up.
My question about this is, where was he sleeping? Was it in a place where others saw him sleeping? Teammates saw him sleeping and deliberately elected not to wake him up? Because if that's the case, then I think you actually have a bigger issue.
He said on today, he responded to a social media post sharing the Athletics report that he was sleeping. He said he was not sleeping. He was in the middle of recovery. Nevertheless, it's on me. I still made the mistake. So apparently...
So if he's in the middle of recovery, well, hold on a second. If he's in the middle of recovery, that's not something he's doing in a room alone.
No.
So nobody tells him, hey, we have a walkthrough right now?
I mean, I wouldn't think
something's up here.
I wouldn't think that the trainers would know the walkthrough schedule.
Up here. Somebody in that building has it out for him.
That's the Sam Levitt.
That's my spin. How does nobody tell me his walkthrough? No other teammate said, hey, Abdul, we got a walkthrough right now? That is a little. I think if he's saying he was in a recovery room or getting treatment, whatever, I think that's more suspicious than sleeping. Because sleeping, maybe he was like, I don't know. If they have sleep rooms at the facility, they might.
Probably. If that's part of recovery, as Adam rightly points out, there's sleeping. The recovery is sleeping. Like that
well,
is
I also read. I don't know if it's in what you're reading, but I also read this had been a recurring issue under Brian Dable, and Brian Dable let it slide.
Great.
And Mike Kafka, former Northwestern quarterback, by the way, Mike Kafka decided to discipline Abdul Carter. Apparently, this has been an issue under Brian Dable, and Mike Kafka, his first week on the job, disciplined Abdul Carter.
I mean, good on him. I mean, that's just a sign of a new regime and actually holding people accountable.
Yeah.
So in that case, good on him if that is the case.
Number 3.
We've talked a lot over the last couple of weeks about the sports gambling issue ever since the FBI indictment. Former University of New Orleans men's basketball player Day Hunter, that is apparently his legal name, acknowledged his role in a point-shaving scheme last season, telling ABC's Good Morning America this morning that he was motivated to get money to pay off his newborn to pay for his newborn child. Hunter and teammates DeQuavian Short and Jamin Vincent were accused by the NCAA of losing or attempting to lose by more than the point spread in the last 7 games, or in at least 7 games for the Privateers last season. English are hard. The NCAA ruled all 3 players were permanently ineligible. In his first public comments on the matter, Hunter told Good Morning America that the players were approached about the scheme by an unidentified bettor in Las Vegas. The shooting guard said he would not always try to make shots, make a couple, miss a couple. So, I mean, again, this is something that has always gone on in sports as far as like the betting and the dark side of it. But it's now, because of this FBI indictment, every little thing is coming to light.
Look, I'll just give very general thoughts beyond this specific situation. Number 1, nobody should be surprised about any of this, whether it's Emmanuel Clase or this situation or whatever. We open the door to this being a very public thing, and I think we're seeing the other side of it. So I don't think anybody should be surprised. I don't have a great answer on how you fix it. I think as long as this is as widespread, sports betting is as widespread and accessible as it is, you're going to have these stories pop up. I don't see this stuff ending. And if you're an athlete at any level, the message has to be you cannot get even close to this, because some of it might be more innocent than you think, okay? Or some of it might be a college kid that gets pressured by somebody in their family or a friend. They don't know how to say no. They think it's no big deal. You cannot get close. You can't get close to it.
And like this case, he just had a kid, so he's trying to find a way with no money.
Look, it's tough. It's tough. So, but my message to any athlete, any level, college athletes, you cannot get close to it. That's what you give up by participating in the sport. You give up any opportunity to be anywhere close to anything when it comes to gambling. But I don't think any of us are surprised.
It's also worth noting that making gambling legal the way it has been has brought a lot of these issues to light, because the safeguards against this stuff are catching it. That's why this is coming out.
The flip side of it is, and you have to wonder it, the flip side of all of this is, if we only know about this kind of stuff now because there's more regulation that, these sports gambling companies, the apps, whatever it might be, these organizations, the safeguards, as you said, are catching it. It does make you wonder what for decades and decades and decades, what was going on.
Absolutely.
And what wasn't being caught and we had no idea about. It makes you wonder. It does. But, the thing is, I think we all sort of knew there was some sort of underbelly there in the sports world, but nobody paid attention or really thought about it. So,
and now just everything is coming out.
Yep.
Number 4.
Big news out of Cooperstown today. How about that? We now have an official Hall of Fame ballot. Cole Hamels, Ryan Braun, and Matt Kemp are among the 12 newcomers to the Baseball Hall of Fame ballot released earlier today. Carlos Beltran heads 15 holdovers after falling 19 votes shy of the ballot last year. Howie Kendrick, Daniel Murphy, and Rick Porcello are also among the first-time eligibles, joined by Shin-Soo Choo, Edwin Encarnacion, Gio Gonzalez, Alex Gordon, Nick Markakis, and Hunter Pence. Beltran received 277 of 394 votes for 70.3% in the 2025 balloting, when Ichiro, CC Sabathia, and Billy Wagner were elected. 9-time All-Star Beltran hit 279. He received 46.5. There's the dyslexia kicking in. Support on his first ballot in 2023. That rose to 57.1% in his second year. Beltran's the only player cited in 2020 for colluding with the Astros. Other holdovers include Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, Andrew Jones, Chase Utley, Andy Pettit, Felix Hernandez, Bobby Abreu, Jimmy Rollins, Omar Vizquel, Dustin Pedroia, Mark Burley, Francisco Rodriguez, David Wright, and Torrey Hunter. So of the new names, who do you think has the best chance of getting in on the first ballot?
Where's the new name list here?
Cole Hamels,
in front of me.
Cole Hamels, Ryan Braun, Matt Kemp, Howie Kendrick, Daniel Murphy, Rick Porcello, Shin-Soo Choo, Edwin Encarnacion, Gio Gonzalez, Alex Gordon, Nick Markakis, Hunter Pence. Those are the newcomers.
Look, I'd have to dive into Hamels and Pence more. On my initial gut reaction, without looking at any numbers, is no to all those.
Getting in on the first ballot, or just getting in, period?
Maybe getting in, period.
I would say
Cole Hamels a whole. I have to look at it.
I would
harder
say
than I ever have.
I would say Cole Hamels and Hunter Pence probably.
Well, that's what I said.
In.
I mentioned Hamels and Pence in particular that I've got to look at. It was.
I could see Matt Kemp getting in eventually.
Is Hunter Pence a Hall of Famer? He's a good player.
I didn't. I mean, me personally, I didn't think that Mike Messina.
Let me be very, very clear, because I don't want to get anybody mad. This is my gut. I have not looked at a thing. My gut, based on what my gut's telling me, just hearing their name.
I I didn't think Mike Mussina and Scott Rowland were good enough to be in the Hall of Fame. So
Yeah, well,
I could
Scott Rowland's-
see,
yeah.
I could see Cole Hamels and Hunter Pence getting in eventually. I could also see Matt Kemp getting in eventually.
Really?
I can't see Ryan Braun
Hall of
getting in.
Fame?
I can't see Ryan Braun getting in because of the steroid thing. I can't see that. But those are the only three out of that list of newcomers. Like Daniel Murphy's claim to fame is the 2015 postseason. That's it. That's all he's got.
In the break, I'm going to look at Hamels and Pence in particular, give you a final verdict. But my initial reaction is no to all those.
I don't see any.
Now,
of
I'm not
those
just
guys.
talking first ballot. My initial reaction is no to all those.
Yeah.
But I'm going to double check. Sorry, I forgot I was hosting here for a second.
Yeah,
all right,
huh?
what's next?
I mean, I can
12
take
p.m.
over.
hour. We're going to do some NFL headlines. We will talk more Padres in the 12 p.m. hour as well. We're going to also talk about a mischaracterization of Sam Levitt here on 97.3 The Fan.
San Diego, it's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime year.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
Noon hour here on 97.3 The Fan. Sam Levitt with you, filling in for Braden on this Monday morning, taking you up. Well, not Monday morning anymore. Now it's Monday afternoon, taking you up until 2 p.m. here on 97.3 The Fan when we flip things over to Gwyn and Chris. Remember to listen at 1 p.m. for us to announce today's biggest fan for a chance to qualify for a night in our Odyssey suite at a future Padres game with all of the fan staff. I'll even make an appearance. Register your name at 97.3thefan, sd.com/biggest fan in order to potentially have your name called. A lot of good stuff still to come on the program until 2 p.m. We'll be joined by AJ Cassavell, Padres beat reporter for MLB.com at 12:40. Darnay Tripp of NBC 7 will join us at 1:40. We'll continue to talk Padres, get to a little NFL headlines as well coming up here, and continue to break things down. I did want to just, I saw this in the chat here. So I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss something. We have somebody in the chat here. I don't like calling people out, so I won't say the name. Not only does Sammy not know college football, but clearly has no clue on why these gambling cases are coming to light and how gambling being legal has actually helped that happen. It's not the opposite. Frank, am I wrong, or did we essentially say that?
I said that explicitly, that the legalization of gambling has brought these cases to the limelight.
Yes.
I felt
like we made that point.
I said that word for word, actually.
So there we go. I thought we had said it. I just wanted to defend myself. I'll be honest with you. Pre and post game, I don't dive into the chat much. I encourage the comments. I will dive in there sometimes, but I don't go out of my way to respond to any criticism, I would say. And I get some from time to time. But hey, I'm much more relaxed here on the 10 to 2. There was something else I wanted to do before I get into the mischaracterization of Sam Levitt on this program. What was it?
You call it mischaracterization.
What was it? There was one. Let me just look at my
accuracy.
list here before I do anything else. We will talk more Padres, I promise. Can I just give you a couple of items on my list here that we may get to before we're done? So I got to airplane Wi-Fi. I've got diners, drive-ins, and dives on the list here. Guy Fieri. I had some thoughts about that.
Okay,
We haven't talked about Josh Naylor re-signing with the Mariners. If you want to touch on that.
Hold on, time out.
I also want to explain why the voters got it wrong as far as the Cal Raleigh, Aaron Judge, American League MVP debate. Oh, I know what I wanted to get to before I get to the mischaracterization of Sam Levitt. I took a quick look at the newcomers on the Hall of Fame ballot, the ones that stand out: Cole Hamels, Hunter Pence, Ryan Braun, Matt Kemp. At a quick glance, at just looking a tiny little bit deeper, I'm a no on all these guys. As far as Hall of Fame, I don't see it. I mean, Cole Hamels, 3.43 career ERA. Again, I'm very quickly looking. 4-time All-Star, 163 wins. Hunter Pence, 279 career hitter, 244 career home runs. Ryan Braun, actually hit over 350 as far as home runs. He has the best numbers at any of these guys, 296. Again, I'm very quickly looking here. Matt Kemp, no. Same thing. I mean, to me, none of these guys are Hall of Famers.
He was a part of the Mitchell Report, was he not, Braun?
Who? He was part of something.
It was one of the steroid.
Yeah.
I
just
it was either the Mitchell Report or
very,
it might have been Biogenesis, actually.
Yeah, very quick look. Very, very quick look. I would say no. I might be off, but that's a very, very quick look based on gut reaction and just very quick look at a Baseball Reference page to refresh my memory. All right, let's get to, because we have a little time here, the mischaracterization of Sam Levitt. So why do I say the mischaracterization of Sam Levitt? The assault on my character on this program. I was alerted to a conversation that was had here at some point last week about how apparently I take a lot of trips. Yeah. Now, I would like to lay this out for everybody. Number one, since the baseball season ended, first week of October, I have been out of San Diego twice. 1 week at home in New York, seeing my parents. That's where my parents are. 1 week in Hawaii. And it's been 5-ish weeks of off season. I mean, that does not seem excessive to me, especially when you consider, and this is the main part. I work, and I want to make something very clear. This is not a complaint. I know when I came here to San Diego, the 97.3 The Fan.
The complaining happens off air.
Okay. I knew exactly what I was getting into. Exactly. I want to make this very clear. This is not a complaint. I'm just giving you the reality. From the first day of spring training until when the Padres are done, hopefully one day it's hoisting a World Series trophy, but until whenever they're done, they play, they have an active day at spring training, I work.
Unless you have a wedding to go to or something.
Well, hold on. There have been a couple of scenarios in my 4 seasons where I've had specific weddings. I've missed a lot of weddings, but specific weddings where I've missed a couple of games for. That is true. But I think I could now, I've got sick a couple of times, but I still think even with that, I could count on, in 4 seasons, I could count on 2 hands the amount of games I've missed. I'm on every day from early February to whenever they're done. So let's count it. February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. It's an 8 to 9 month period. Again, not a complaint. I signed up for it. I love baseball season. I know what I'm doing. My point is, aside from if I'm fortunate enough in a couple scenarios to travel, where the Padres are playing, for the most part, I am here in San Diego, aside from spring training, but I'm either in Arizona or with the Padres or here in San Diego for that 8-9 month period. I do not go on any trips. I work every weekend day, that entire stretch. Padres are off, I'm off. That's it. So my point is, not a complaint. My point is, the mischaracterization that I'm always on trips. Well, during the part of the year where I have the free time, yes, I go on some trips. I take a week here. I take a week there. I might go to Europe. I might go to Japan. Yes, I take some time. So I don't see the issue. What kind of this mischaracterization that I'm always taking trips? 8-9 months out of the year, I don't go anywhere. And that's what I had. And that's what I had a problem with on this program.
You go to Petco Park all the time.
Yeah, go there. But I mean, this is my time of year to take a trip.
I mean, go. You've been to New York.
Heaven forbid, seems like a guy wants to take a trip.
It seems like every other week you're going to New York during the off season. I've been once. It's been no.
Okay, a couple of times each off season. I think I've been twice. But here's the thing. And
now Hawaii.
My parents live in New York.
Usually go skiing. You're usually up in Colorado.
But again,
come on.
But again, this is my time of year to go because from February to October, I don't go anywhere.
Can you give us a good recommendation for a ski lodge in Aspen?
I don't do Aspen. I could give you Breckenridge and Vail. I could give you Park City. But I mean, heaven forbid a guy take a little time to enjoy himself. Take some time off. Yes, during the off season, do I go some places? Yes.
I remember this time.
The rest of the year, I don't go anywhere.
I remember
people are taking vacations left and right. They're going to the lake for July 4th. They're going here for Memorial Day. They're going here for Labor Day. I don't do any of that.
I remember this time last year, like you did half of our Wednesday night shows from New York, from your mother's kitchen.
I did some.
No, it was like half of them.
It was a compromise we made in order, that I could do it. Would let me.
Are you doing that Wednesday show this year? Because I don't know. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm not putting thoughts.
I just talked about it.
Okay, that's
maybe
fine.
Now he's gonna remember. Maybe. I mean, honestly, but like, here's the thing. To be totally honest, like from a Padres.
Adam's already in the chat.
From a Padres roster standpoint, there hasn't been a ton to talk about. So
I
heard this entire conversation about all these trips. I'm like, yes, in the off season. But here's the thing, and Adam can back me up on this, and he's listening. Hey, anytime Adam needs something, for the most part, I'm there to do it. I'm available to him. We'll do winter meetings.
What about a 2-hour show on Wednesday night?
Maybe. I mean, we haven't talked about it, so I don't know. Maybe we'll start it at the winter meetings. I don't know. I don't know. Adam, to be honest with you, Adam has weirdly not been all over me about it. So, if he's not all over me about it, I mean,
he might be now.
Yeah, maybe. So anyway, I just wanted to address this reputation I have for going on all these trips.
I mean, look, you live a lavish lifestyle.
9 months of the year, I don't go anywhere.
Champagne Sammy.
But during the off season,
Champagne Sammy. There's a reason why.
Do I like to go on a trip? Do I like to go ski? Yeah, I do.
Champagne Sam. There's a reason why. There's a reason why that moniker rolls around. Just first class, going to New York, going to Hawaii, going to Colorado, going to Wyoming, going wherever, going to Texas, going back to
I
wherever.
haven't been to Texas in a long time.
Going back to Chicago.
Yes. Well, I was just there for the wild card series.
You were just there. Oh, you were just there.
No, I was with the Padres. But actually, I have a wedding that I might go to.
There, there it is.
Well,
there's another vacation for Sam Levitt. By the way, condolences on Sister Jean. By the way, that was a big.
That
one.
was sad. That was sad. I have a great great photo with Sister Jean.
I think there's a bobblehead of her back there somewhere.
Yeah, amazing life, really. I have a great photo with Sister Jean. I loved working at Loyola. What was I going to say? Oh, just one other note on this. It is funny because I have winter meetings coming up in Orlando. That's the 7th to the 10th. And
another trip.
I actually had to change. We originally had booked the flights San Diego to Orlando and back. And then I got a B-list invite to a wedding of a friend of mine. but there's like specific reasons why I'm going to the wedding. Okay. Some of my friends are there. We've been talking about it. We were hoping I would somehow get an invite to this wedding of somebody I went to high school with.
You were hoping you got an invite to a wedding. That is probably the first time.
We changed the flights to go from San Diego to Philadelphia to Orlando and back.
You got to go to Philly. Oh.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm going to go to New York, and then I'm going to drive down to Philly with my friend the next day. So, yes, I'm even having to maneuver my work trip around my other trips. Anyway, now that can you tell me what time I should go to break out here?
B-list. The brother said a B-list invite. We can go to break now. If you
right
want.
now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, let's do that. When we come back, Frank, what should we get into?
We can run it for another 2 minutes if you want.
I got these NFL headlines. I do want to talk about Fernando Tatis Jr. We got AJ at 12:40. You know what? This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna come back. I want to get to this Fernando stuff because I wrote some of this stuff out. I have a little Fernando Tatis Jr. segment here. AJ Cassavell at 12:40. We'll talk more Padres. 1 p.m. we'll reset it. Maybe we'll do some of this NFL stuff, and we'll wrap up with some whatever in Darnay Tripp in the 1 p.m. hour. San Diego's #1 sports station. We will get back to the sports talk after this. Back here on 97.3 The Fan, 12:20 on a Monday. Sam Levitt with you, filling in for Braden Surprenant. This holiday season, too many San Diegans will go hungry. Join 97.3 The Fan and support the San Diego Food Bank. Donate food directly online through our Odyssey San Diego Food Fund, where every donation helps feed local families. Go to 973thefansd.com/food fund and give today. And a reminder for you, all guests on 97.3 The Fan, join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. We'll be joined by AJ Cassavell, talk about a number of different Padres topics at 12:40 p.m. So that's coming your way in about 20 minutes. Before we do that, wanted to talk about Fernando Tatis Jr. because I thought it was really, really interesting when the NL MVP voting came out. Shohei Ohtani won the MVP. You go down by the points, and you might know, you might not know, players get points for a first place vote, a second place vote, a third place vote, a fourth place, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, and so on. They tabulate those points, and whoever has the most points out of the voters, or out of the players, I should say, wins MVP. Shohei Ohtani won it convincingly. Kyle Schwarber was second, Juan Soto third. The rest of the list, Geraldo Perdomo, Trey Turner fifth, Paul Skeens sixth, Corbin Carroll seventh, and the Padres' Fernando Tatis Jr. was eighth on the list. So Fernando finishing eighth in MVP voting in 2025. Fernando also winning his second Platinum Glove award in 2025. The reason I wanted to take at least a segment today to talk about Fernando is this. If you would have not kept track of the stats and just watched his season, I think a lot of fans would say it was an underwhelming season for Fernando Tatis Jr. But here's the thing. The guy put up 6 WAR. The guy finished 8th in NL MVP voting. He played 155 games. By far and away, it was the healthiest, most consistent season from an getting on the field standpoint that Fernando Tatis Jr. has had in his career. He had a 6 WAR season. That's really, really, really good. Okay, Fernando, by the metrics, was a really, really, really good player. Had a great season. You look at the power numbers, 25 home runs, 71 RBIs, 27 doubles. To me, Fernando had a really, I would say, good yet odd year. And the Padres need him, in my opinion, for him to have a different year in 2026 to be the most impactful version of Fernando Tatis Jr. I think you can really look at it and break it down like this. You look at what Fernando did in March and April. You remember he got off to that scorching hot start. I mean, the guy looked like he was going to be an MVP candidate in the first month of the season. He was unbelievable. Hit 345, 409 on base percentage, 602 slug, 1011 OPS in 29 games. May through September, much larger sample, 249, 358 on base percentage, 410 slug, 768 OPS in 126 games, 17 home runs the rest of the way. After, again, he hit, what was it? He hit 8 in the first 29 and 17 in the final 126 games. And if you recall, if you watched it, there were long, long stretches of last year where Fernando struggled, where Fernando was not, it didn't feel like he was a major part of the offense. Now, you look at Fernando's year, his on-base percentage, 368. He walked by far and away the most of his career at 89 walks. He also played the most he's ever played in his career. Stolen bases, 32, a career high. There was a lot of good, and the defense, goes without saying, was tremendous. Tremendous. But from an offensive standpoint, I think it's fair to look at Fernando's season and say he was great. He really was. He put up 6 WAR. The player as a whole was great. But it needs to look a little different in 2026. You need Fernando to be the more 42 home run, 100 RBI guy. I would, and this is sort of a weird eye test thing. A lot of you listening out there, you watched every game of last season. There were stretches where Fernando did not feel super impactful. That's the word I would use for 2026 for Fernando. Impact. The home runs. Hey, 25 home runs for Fernando, to me, that's low. I'm not saying he's got to hit 40, but can you get 30-something? Can you get 35? To me, I would take less walks and more home runs. I would take less stolen bases and more home runs. You're looking for the 2021 version of Fernando where he felt day in, day out from an offensive standpoint so impactful. So to me, it's that classic scenario of 2 things can be true at once. You need more from Fernando. I think you want him to be more of a run producer, power producer, but also acknowledge that even in a very different looking season for him, the guy was still really, really good. And it speaks to the unbelievable talent that he is. He had a really, really good year, and his defense plays a part in it. But I'll tell you what, I take a little less stellar defense for some more home runs. I could live with just a gold glove season and not a platinum glove season if you hit 35 to 40 home runs. So it'll be a fascinating year for Fernando. In a lot of ways, he had a great year. In other ways, when you look at 25 home runs, 71 RBIs, I think when the Padres signed him to the long-term deal, when he first came up, when he was having that unbelievable run in 2021, I don't know that they viewed him as a 25 home run, 71 RBI guy. I don't think they did. I think they viewed him as a 35 home run, 110 RBI guy. Personally, I would trade out some of the defense and some of the walks for more power and more run production. I would. You still want him to steal bases, but the conversation really sparked in my head when I looked at the MVP voting, because you're looking at it and I don't know, day to day, did it feel like Fernando was, an MVP caliber player? I don't think so. Not last year. Do I think he has the talent to do that? Yeah. Do I think he was that last year? No. And again, he finished 8th. It's not like he finished 2nd. But it just kind of reminded me, even at a year where it felt like he was just not nearly at his best, not nearly at his most impactful, guy was still really, really good. It's really, really good. You just need that little bit more from Fernando. They're really good to just beyond words great year. And the Padres are going to need it. Look, we talked about it a little bit earlier. You don't know how much there is to spend. You don't know what the payroll's going to be. They have a major, major, major need in that rotation. I said it earlier. I can make the argument right now that whatever money the Padres have to spend should go towards that rotation. Okay, because that's, I don't want to say dire, but you look at that rotation and right here, right now, you've got Nick Pivetta, you've got Joe Musgrove. Joe's coming off the Tommy John, but I'm going to count on Joe as somebody I can trust. Randy, he's getting there. Can I pencil in? Can I put in pen that Randy's going to give you a really good year? Maybe, but to me, he's a really good 5th starter. It's not your 3. Got major needs there. So my point is, I don't know what that offensive bat's going to be. I don't know what they're going to be able to do free agent wise. They've got a farm system that they've dipped into a ton over the last couple of years. I don't know what they have to trade from a farm system standpoint at this moment, even though AJ does such a great job at restocking. One thing that can make up for a lot of that uncertainty from an offensive standpoint is Fernando being the Fernando of 2021. Is Fernando not just being really, really good. It's a 6 WAR guy, platinum glover, stayed healthy. It was all great. That's great. But that home run number, 2026, I'd like it to be above 30. That RBI number, 2026, I'd like it to be over 100. I'd take less walks for that. I'd take less stolen bases for that. I'd take even a little less defense for that. That's one area where Padres need more power. We all know it. It's got to be a major, major, major talking point of their offense heading into next year. Well, one way they can get it, you get 10 more home runs from Fernando or more. You get 15 more home runs and he hits 40. Wouldn't that be fun? To see Fernando above 40 home runs again? I just feel like there is more impact Fernando can have on a day-to-day basis. And again, not for it to get lost. He had, by a lot of metrics and in a lot of ways, a great year last year. But day-to-day, it was a weird year because day-to-day via the eye test, it didn't always feel that way. It didn't feel like he was having the kind of impact you know he's capable of. So when we talk about an increase in power in 2026, they need that. When you talk about maybe limited capability of adding another bat, I'll tell you, again, something that could go a long way is Fernando being the ultimate version of himself. And I don't know, do you feel like he was that last year? I don't. He had a really good year, but I don't.
There were a lot of issues that Fernando had this year, and a lot of it was off the field stuff. He had the lawsuit. There were other things that he had going on, and it's really easy for someone in our position to say, leave it at the door, forget it. When you're out on that field, that's the only thing that matters. But as we said on the show throughout the year, that stuff weighs on you. Mm-hmm. That's all stuff that compiles and compounds on you throughout the course of a season, and it weighs you down. It does, as much as you try and as much as you want to just leave it off on the field. Leave it off the field. That's stuff that's going to affect you.
There's a lot of questions I think you can have about that and how it impacted him. I will always go back to last year when he got hit on the arm in Pittsburgh. He was having such a great start to the season. Mm-hmm. He got hit. I think it was the first day of May or the last day of April. Had that big,
the big welt.
He was not the same after that. I don't know how you could look at that point and not think that he wasn't right for a while after that.
And that was also the time where a lot more pitchers started to pitch him up and in, where he's the least comfortable.
Whatever it is, my point is this. Fernando had a really, really nice year. Okay. He is so talented that even when you feel like he's not near the prime version of himself, he can be really good. But I just think there's so much more there still. And it's a compliment to Fernando from an impact standpoint. I want to watch Padres baseball next year and feel like Fernando, day in, day out, is maybe the best player on the planet. Yeah. He's got that capability. I want to feel like that. I want to watch him and say, this guy is the best player on the planet right now.
I mean, he had that, again, a lot of the off the field issues. He lost his, quote unquote, lost his smile at one point during the season, where he's like, this just isn't hitting it right now for me.
Yeah. So we'll see.
I hope a lot of that is cleared up and that you can see the best of Fernando, because it's something
but
special.
It's a compliment. Yeah. It's a compliment to him. He still had 6'4". He had a great year.
Yeah.
So again, when you talk about things that the Padres need in 2026, to me, that is actually towards the top of the list. You just need that Fernando, I think, would go such a long way for this team. All right, we'll be joined by AJ Cassavell. I'm going to ask AJ about Fernando and other Padres topics when we return right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by IHOP, introducing the IHOP value menu, where all your breakfast faves are just $6 each every day. Where else can you get a big, filling, sit-down breakfast for only $6? Go to your happy plates with the $6 IHOP value menu, available every day at IHOP, $7 in some locations. Sam Levitt with you here on 97.3 The Fan, filling in for Braden Surprenant on this Monday. And right now, we're very happy to be joined by the great AJ Cassavell, Padres beat reporter for MLB.com. All guests on 97.3 The Fan join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. AJ, my friend, how are you? How's your offseason going?
It's going. I'm in full off-season mode as of now. I think last week I spent in Las Vegas at the GM meetings and the MLB awards, but now that that's kind of the unofficial start to the off season, and now it's kind of full go from here.
Well, we did have a little bit of Padres news this morning. Padres signing Kyle Hart to a 1-year deal with a club option for next year. Hart had AJ, a bit of an up and down season last year. There were positives as far as his numbers against lefties, what he does with the sweeper. To you, what do you believe the Padres see in Kyle Hart and how they may plan to use him in 2026?
Yeah, it's really interesting because of how he finished the season in the bullpen and the way his fastball played up a tick or two. And I think the way his sweeper played in that bullpen and the fact that you can mix and match him against lefties, like he was a pretty appealing bullpen piece, I think, down the stretch with some flaws. He walked some guys in some spots, and he obviously didn't make the wild card series roster, but like there were things to like about him in the bullpen. But you look on paper at this team and kind of where their deficiencies are and where their strengths are, like the bullpen is clearly a strength and the rotation is clearly a need. So I think they enter this season, or at least camp, with Kyle Hart potentially in an either or role. Like he can cover innings, he can potentially compete for a starting spot if there aren't other guys that step up and grab that spot. But ideally, I think you want him in that lefty relief role. The Padres have a few options for that spot as well. Wandy Peralta, Yuki Matsui behind Adrian Morejon. I think it's just another arm that they're intrigued by, that they like, that they obviously declined his team option for, I think it was $5 million, but you can bring him back on a more affordable deal and just kind of see where you progress, because there were a lot of things to like down the stretch with Kyle Hart last season. Like I think he was really starting to build something, working in the bullpen with that fastball playing up, with the sweeper being effective, with his effectiveness against left-handers. So you bring him back and just add him to that pitching mix. Where he lands might be dependent on who else they add to that group this winter.
AJ, a handful of days ago, you wrote about a few different things for MLB.com. One of the things you talked about, and you alluded to it, obviously the Padres have major needs in the starting rotation. To me, it's top of the list as far as where their offseason begins. But the idea of, and I've talked about it when I filled in here the last few weeks, the idea of the Padres going to maybe their biggest strength, their bullpen, and using that to fill needs in their rotation. You mentioned the names, Mason Miller, Adrian Morejon, David Morgan. Look, I've got my own thoughts on some of the hesitancy I have about guys like Miller and Morejon transitioning into starting roles, considering how good they are as relievers and some of the health concerns. Your thoughts on what direction the Padres may go with those three names, Morgan, Miller, and Morejon in particular, and the idea that one of, if not multiple of those guys could be stretched out heading into spring training.
Yeah, I think I share some of your hesitancies, because it's just such a strength of the Padres right now. And speaking with AJ Preller last week at the general managers meetings, he did too. He basically said, we don't want to have two mediocre units. We know our bullpen is excellent. Our bullpen needs to stay excellent while somehow finding a way to make the rotation as good as it can be. Like those hesitancies are real. The fact that you have gotten two of the best relief seasons in baseball last year from Morejon and Miller, like those are two guys that, like, it's no sure thing if they transition to the rotation that they will be as effective. Maybe their ceiling is a little higher because of the innings they would cover, but you already know that they're two of the best relievers in baseball in the bullpen right now. What I will say is the Padres are going to explore these decisions, and they're going to talk with the players themselves, kind of get a gauge for what the players want, because I think AJ Preller's gotten a pretty good track record of converting some guys. And one thing he said was that it, like, the player has to be fully on board to a move to the rotation for it to be successful. And so that makes obviously a ton of sense. the Padres do get the benefit of the doubt in making these decisions because of how well they've done in the past with finding relievers, finding kind of fringe guys who had pitched out of the bullpen. Look, Michael King had started with the Yankees, obviously, a few times, but they turned him into a front of the rotation starter. Seth Lugo wanted to be a starter. He transitioned into one of the best starters in baseball. Like they get some benefit of the doubt for identifying the right guys and turning them into rotation pieces, but they can't afford to get this one wrong because Morejon and Miller combined to make up maybe the two best pitchers in what might be the best bullpen in baseball. And the best bullpen in baseball, I would say, is the Padres' biggest strength and what could lead them to success in 2026. And you really don't want to you don't want to steal from a strength to address what you perceive to be a weakness when there's other avenues you can take to address that weakness. I think that I'm hesitant, like you probably are, for that reason. But I also know that like the Padres are discussing all of these things and understand all of these things and understand those risks. It's just going to be interesting to see what way they go. Yeah,
no, I'm totally with you. I'm hesitant, but then I start looking at the rotation and, you start thinking about it and you're like, well, maybe it's something you try and you see how it goes coming out of spring training. We're joined by AJ Cassavell, Padres beat reporter for MLB.com. AJ, before you came on, I was talking about Fernando Tatis Jr. and sort of, I think, the fascinating season that Fernando had. He put up 6 WAR. He won a platinum glove. He played 155 games, which is no small feat considering his injury history. How do you characterize the season that Fernando had? The way I put it was he had a really, really, really nice year. There's a lot of good to take away from it, but you feel like there's more impact day to day from an offensive standpoint to be had for Fernando. How would you characterize what Fernando's season was?
Yeah, basically just that, like really, really good, but not what he's capable of. I think it's interesting. Like there aren't many players in the world that are capable of like an 8 or a 9 WAR season. So if you get a 6 WAR season from someone, you're generally pretty pleased with that season. I think the Padres are pretty pleased with what they got from Tatis. He was excellent defensively. He had some stretches during the season where he showed what he could do offensively, but he didn't reach that ceiling that we know that he has. And so you look at that and you kind of look at some of the offensive struggles, or maybe not struggles, but just the lack of power that the Padres had. And there's going to be talk of how they address that externally, who they go out and sign in the offseason to help supplement that offseason. If you get the best version of Fernando Tatis Jr., I think that goes the longest way toward helping that offense, toward establishing that. I think what you want out of the Padres offense in 2026. And look, Tatis made some serious strides in his plate discipline and his ability to stay in the strike zone in 2025. If he can match that to his power potential, like this is a guy that could win the MVP next season.
Yeah.
And the other thing, like I'm just talking about it right now, I'm a little hesitant to like continue to go down this road of like what he could do, what needs to change, because like you said, he had such a solid season that like he clearly wasn't the problem. He clearly wasn't the reason that the Padres didn't achieve their goals last season. He had a good season defensively, a good season offensively. It's just that there's more to be extracted from him. And I think he knows that. I think he was pretty hard on himself after the season, particularly the way it ended. But that doesn't mean like some of the good things he did in 2025 don't matter and aren't going to be something that he can build on going forward. So honestly, like I look at this 2025 season and I wonder like wherever it goes after this year might just define how this season went. Like his season is over, but if Tatis makes the strides on the 2025 season, if he keeps that plate discipline and adds the power, maybe we look back on 2025 as the season where he kind of started that development into being that complete offensive player where he can work some walks at the top of the order and also hit for power, hit some home runs. So I don't know. It was up and down. It was such a good season and yet leaves you wanting a little bit more. And I think that's kind of probably how he would characterize it too.
Yeah. Well said. Good points all the way around on Fernando Tatis Jr. AJ Cassavell, Padres beat reporter for MLB.com, joining us here on 97.3 The Fan. Last one for you, AJ. We'll stay on offense. no secret, and more home runs for Fernando Tatis Jr. would help this, but the Padres need more pop. They need more power. You would imagine they are looking for that in a bat heading towards the winter meetings, although AJ Preller didn't close the door on a reunion with Luis Arraez for 2026 at the GM meetings. Your thoughts on their pursuit of a bat, and I suppose the Arraez possibility as well?
Yeah, Arraez doesn't seem to fit that trajectory of looking for power, but every time we ask AJ Preller about power, he says more or less what he said with the rotation and the bullpen, or how you don't want to rob from one thing you do well to make sure another thing make sure you do another thing well. Like, he wants the team's contact-oriented approach to remain while still finding a way to tap into that power. And so I think that's part of the reason you're hearing that the Padres are interested in bringing back Luis Arraez, and ultimately I think that depends on what the number is and if the Padres think it's right. But if they do bring back Luis Arraez, or if they do explore that further, I still think they need to add another power bat. I don't think, if you look at their offense, they need probably one hitter based on the way the lineup is constructed right now, one kind of everyday regular guy. If they were to bring back Arraez, and if Arraez were to be that guy, then you need to add a power bench bat or a power DH type bat just to kind of fit in and boost those numbers. I think the Padres can reasonably, with whether it's a change of philosophy or just moving from one season to the next, expect a bit more power production from some of their big names: Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Jackson Merrill. Like, those are guys. I was in Las Vegas for the All MLB Awards last week. The Padres did not have an All MLB guy. All three of those guys are All MLB caliber. The quickest way to fix the offense is for those three guys to be All MLB next season, and I think they can be. Now, beyond that, like, is the DH first base spot the open spot? Like, is Luis Arraez the right fit for where the offense needs to go? I don't think he is by himself, because I think the Padres need a little bit more power, but I think you can bring him back if it's at a reasonable cost, and then maybe spend money elsewhere finding another more of a bopper type bat.
Yeah, I agree with you. AJ, very good analysis. Enjoy the rest of your November into Thanksgiving. I will see you at the winter meetings in Orlando, or I suppose somewhere around Ocean Beach, my friend. Thank you very much for the time.
All right, good stuff. Thanks, Sam.
All right, that is AJ Cassavell, Padres beat reporter for MLB.com, joining us on this Monday here on 97.3 The Fan. Look, I agree with AJ, and it doesn't mean that, you don't want the Padres to go get a bat and spend. And you saw Josh Naylor sign with the Mariners yesterday, re-signed with the Mariners yesterday, which I think is great for the Mariners. I think that's an outstanding job by them to just have a priority, go get him. He's a really, really good player. Oh, he would be a perfect player for the Padres to play first base and provide some power. But I tend to agree with AJ in this sense. We can talk about outside bats, for the next hour, but there is no doubt that from a power standpoint, they also need the guys already here to just produce more power. 25 home runs, like I said earlier. Fernando had a really, really nice year. But he's capable of more than 25 home runs. That's not the player that you expected. You expected 30, 35, 40. Probably more on the 35, 40 scale. Manny, again, he finished high 20s. You could use a few more from him. Jackson Merrill, a healthy season. I think there's more power in there, certainly. The guys already inside that clubhouse having better years, and especially from a power standpoint, would go a long way. Would go a long way. Having a full season of Ramon Laureano and him providing more from a power standpoint would go a long way. So I agree with AJ in that sense that, a big fix to the power problem is having your stars be more power producing. I mean, look, that to me, and the rotation is a part of this roster that needs addressing, no doubt. And I know it sounds like a broken record when we talk about this over and over and over, and it seems like we have a very similar conversation about it year after year. Make no mistake, this Padres team in 2026, they will go as far as their stars take them. That has not changed. that has not changed. When we come back, get to those NFL headlines. Let's do that. We promised that. Let's get to that. More Padres talk, more Aztec talk, more SDFC talk. We're doing it all on 97.3 The Fan. 1 p.m. here on 97.3 The Fan. Sam Levitt with you. You're inside our Odyssey studios. 1 hour to go until we flip things over to today's edition of Gwynn and Chris. Sam here filling in for Braden Surprenant on this Monday. Braden will be back with you tomorrow alongside our producer, Frank Marchese. We did not do the sports standoff today, the midday sports standoff today, but if we did, it would have been brought to you by Sammy Hagar. Returns to Las Vegas with his Best of All Worlds Las Vegas residency. Get ready to rock with your favorite hits from the Van Halen years, Sammy solo hits, and more only in Las Vegas this March 11th through 21st and September 18th through 26th at Dolby Live at Park MGM. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. It is time, very exciting, it is time to announce our biggest fan potential qualifier for today. And again, you'll be qualified to win our grand prize, 20 tickets, or qualified for our grand prize, 20 tickets for you and all your friends for a night in our Odyssey suite at a Padres game with all of the 97.3 The Fan staff later this season. Today, we are looking for Carla Jermark in Carlsbad. Carla Jermark in Carlsbad. I'll say it one more time. Carla Jermark in Carlsbad. Carla, you have 10 minutes to call in.
There's a new read for this.
Okay.
Just so congratulations to today's biggest fan, Carla Jermark in Carlsbad. Give us a call within the next 10 minutes at 833-288-0973, and you will qualify for our grand prize, 20 tickets for you and your friends for a night in our Odyssey suite at a Padres game with all the fan staff later on this season, catered by Spiro's Mediterranean Cuisine. Remember to register your name at 973thefansd.com/biggest fan.
All right, there you go. Carla Jermark in Carlsbad. You have 10 minutes to call in. Hope to hear from you, Carla. Darnay Tripp of NBC 7 does a great job covering San Diego sports. All San Diego sports will join us at around 1:35. It was a busy NFL Sunday across the league. We've been teasing a little NFL talk for you, so let's get to it. Take you through some NFL headlines from yesterday. All right, let's begin with, how about the Chiefs? Struggling Chiefs. Kansas City 5-5 after losing to the Broncos yesterday. They've lost 2 in a row to AFC contenders Buffalo and Denver. They'll enter Week 12 on the outside of the AFC playoff picture. Seems like a while since we've been able to say that about Kansas City this late into the season, but Chiefs only 5-5. Patrick Mahomes struggling, offense struggling. Denver, meanwhile, has won 8 in a row. Bo Nix led the final drive, ended with a game-winning field goal. Broncos continue to play well. 8 wins in a row. They are currently the number 1 seed in the AFC playoff picture. Brings us to the slipping Chargers. Chargers lost yesterday to the Jaguars 35-6. Chargers now 7-4. Justin Herbert was not good. Chargers hanging on to an AFC playoff spot right now. They'd be the 6th seed if the season ended today, but Jacksonville now in the 7th and final spot at 6-4. Texans, Ravens, Chiefs all lurking on the outside looking in with 5 losses. So not a ton of wiggle room right now for the Chargers, who are now 7-4. Josh Allen and the Bills keep it rolling. Josh Allen, my fantasy quarterback, by the way, scored 6 touchdowns, 3 passing, 3 rushing. Bills beat the Bucs 44-32. Josh Allen throwing for 317 yards and rushed for 40. Very nice job by Josh Allen and the Bills. The Rams continue to look like a Super Bowl contender. Rams beat the Seahawks yesterday 21-19. Rams now 8-2 and took sole possession of first place in the NFC West. Rams have a top 5 offense and defense. Matt Stafford playing great. Through 273 straight passes now without an interception, 27 touchdown passes already this season. Caleb Williams and the Bears won again. They beat the Vikings 19-17. Bears have won 3 in a row and remain in first place in the NFC North. Green Bay bounces back against the Giants. They beat them 27-20, snapping a 2-game losing streak. Steelers won, beat the Bengals 34-12, but potentially losing Aaron Rodgers. Left the game with a left hand injury. Unclear right now the severity of the injury. 49ers beat the Cardinals 41-22. Brock Purdy was back, looked pretty good, 200 yards through the air, 3 touchdown passes, no turnovers for Purdy. And the Eagles beat the Lions 16-9. Eagles still the number 1 seed in the NFC. Lions dropping to 6-4. Right now the first team on the outside of the NFC playoff picture. And that is a quick look at NFL headlines from yesterday, everything going on in the National Football League. And as we said a little bit earlier, we will have Monday Night Football for you tonight. It'll be the Cowboys and the Raiders. That comes your way at 5:15 p.m. here on 97.3 The Fan, following Gwynn and Chris. That's a look at your NFL news of the day. See, I told you we'd get to a little bit of everything for you. What else do we have here on the agenda before we get to later in the hour? I do want to get to this, my Cal Raleigh, Aaron Judge take conversation. You want me to do it right now?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Don't disappoint me.
Here we go. And I tweeted this sometime in September. I should have asked AJ Cassavell about it because we talked about it during the year a couple of times, and I know we disagree. My AL MVP vote was Cal Raleigh.
Thank you.
I know you'll put the numbers side by side with Aaron Judge, and I'm not even going to go through it. Everybody knows Aaron Judge, a lot of categories, blows Cal Raleigh out of the water. I get it. But I am a narrative guy. I am a storyline guy. When I think about MVP, when I think about Cy Young, when I think about Gold Gloves, when I think about these All-MLB awards, which I don't know that anybody cares about that much, but okay. Any type of award, really, in any sport, the way I view it, and this goes for MVP in baseball, where we really don't have a ton of other major awards. Like, I'll give you an example. In the NBA, they have first team, second team, third team. The first team, and the first team in the NBA is actually, I think, a really nice way to look at a year of the league and have it be kind of like a snapshot of what that year was, of who the best players were. And then you can look at second team, and there are a lot of great players on second team, third team, etc. That's how I think, and this is not an original thought for me, but that's how I think I agree that awards should be looked at. I should be able to look back in 50 years, 60 years. Somebody that wasn't alive in 2025 should be able to look back at the awards and get a snapshot of what the year was. Let me be very clear. Aaron Judge had an amazing season. He typically does. But I thought in this particular year in 2025, the story was Cal Raleigh. The story was what he did as a catcher. The story was what he did for a Mariners team that badly needed him to do it to get to where they went. 60 home runs, catching every day, handling a pitching staff. He's a good defensive catcher. To me, what he did as a catcher, something we have never seen before, that was the story from an AL MVP standpoint. Now, look, the other side of the argument is going to be this, and I've had people say this to me when we've had this conversation, is that it's dangerous to vote on storylines. You're going to look back in 10 years, 20 years and say, whoa, hold on. I'm putting these two seasons side by side, Raleigh and Judge, and you're going to look at average and OPS and a lot of the metrics and say, how on earth wasn't Aaron Judge the MVP, even though Raleigh hit 60 homers, had a great year in his own right? To me, what Cal Raleigh did from a catching standpoint, the year he had, to me, it was his year. I think it was that unique. And that's not to take away from Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge was MVP caliber, absolutely. But what Cal Raleigh did was so unique, was truly something we've never seen. to do what he did, to manage a pitching staff, the impact that he has day in, day out, to me spoke volumes, and to me was why I would have had him as my MVP. I understand the Judge argument. I understand where you could vote for Raleigh and in 20 years look back on it. And there are probably going to be people that would have looked back on the Cal Raleigh MVP pick had he had won and said, how on earth did that happen? It almost feels like it's just that kind of year and thing where you had to be there. You had to watch it. You had to understand the context in which it was happening. You had to understand the impact that a catcher with that type of power, having that type of offensive season, would have. To me, it was Cal Raleigh's year. I understand the Judge argument. There's no way to even argue against the Judge numbers argument. There's not. You'll look at it side by side, and Judge clearly, in all these different metrics, was the guy. To me, when you actually felt the season, watch the games, understand what Cal Raleigh was for that team, if you're using the word valuable to describe the award, if we're not picking the best offensive player, and you can have a problem with how the awards are laid out. We're not picking the best offensive player here. We're picking the most valuable player. And to me, Cal Raleigh, for his team and where they went, was the most valuable player. And that's why Cal Raleigh would have been my pick. I understand why he was an MVP, and unfortunately, we move along.
And that was my point that I made on Friday. If Aaron Judge was not on the Yankees, would the Yankees have made the playoffs last year?
I think so. Cal Raleigh,
no. do they make the playoffs a little and win the division?
No.
There you go. You take your most valuable player to the most valuable player in the league is the guy who, if you take them off of that team, is that team still doing what it did without that player there? And the answer to that clearly is Cal Raleigh made more of an impact to the Seattle Mariners season than Aaron Judge did to the Yankees. The Yankees would have made the postseason. They didn't win the division. They would have made the postseason. If Cal Raleigh did not do what he did, there is a very real likelihood that the Mariners do not make the trades at the deadline that they do. And because they don't make those trades, that means they're not close to being where they were. So I'm sorry, Cal Raleigh is that guy.
Yeah, look, you're not going to win the numbers game with this. You're just not. And I see a comment in the YouTube chat saying, what does it say here? This is a sign of fans becoming desensitized to how elite Judge is. Number one, it's not a sign he won. You're not going to win the numbers game because the numbers clearly favor Judge. There's no way around it. No way around it. I mean, he is elite. But again, you go back to that word valuable. I think it was a unique year to me that Cal had such a unique year.
Yeah.
That this was a situation where I was willing to overlook the difference in the stats.
Played 150 plus games as a
catcher to have that power to mean what he meant to that team. I was willing to overlook the clear advantage that Judge had in stats. And maybe that is Judge fatigue. There are people talking about it right now as far as Ohtani. Will people ever get tired of Ohtani and have Ohtani fatigue? Maybe I'm having a little bit of Judge fatigue. That could be fair. Be a fair criticism of me. Maybe it's a little Yankee hater coming out. I don't know. But I just thought Cal's season was so special. It was a case where, to me, he was the MVP. If it was best offensive player, then it's Aaron Judge. But the award is not best offensive player. It's not. The award's MVP. Value. And where would the Mariners have been without Cal Raleigh? Not in the playoffs. Not winning their division. So that's the way I feel about it. You can disagree. I really, when I got crushed on Twitter in September for this, I was getting crushed. And I really don't tweet much about other teams, to be honest. I don't get crushed very often. Yeah, I'm not sitting here if you wanted Aaron Judge to win MVP and saying you're wrong. I totally understand the argument. I get it. Yeah. You can easily make the argument when it makes total sense. But I thought the Cal Raleigh argument was really, really, really strong for this particular year. And maybe it is getting a little caught up in the narrative and the storyline. Guess what? I like storylines. I like narratives. I don't know. That to me is a part of what this is in sports. Again, when I look back in 50 years and take the snapshot, I wanted to be able to look at AL MVP and remember, oh, that was the year Cal Raleigh hit 60 home runs as a catcher. And that is a season we had never seen. That's what I wanted to see. And unfortunately, I did not see it.
Seeing this come up from ESPN right now, there were rumblings about it over the weekend. Former Penn State head football coach James Franklin, starting next year, will be the head coach at Virginia Tech. So he has gone to the Hokies.
Oh, okay. Well, good for him. Didn't take long.
Well, no, it was part of the buyout agreement with Penn State. He had to be actively looking for jobs in order for him to be eligible for that payout. So
he is going to Virginia Tech.
Yes, he will be the head coach for Virginia Tech. Yes.
Next year.
Yes.
Okay. James Franklin.
There you go.
There you go. There's your Penn State news of the day. We
got one more segment to fill before Darnay.
Hey, don't put it like that.
Well, no, I'm just saying we've had a good show. Yeah, we've had a great show. Yeah, this show has flown by. That wasn't
okay.
We
got Darnay Tripp coming up at 135, 140. When we come back, I'll touch on whatever we didn't touch on yet on my list here, including Guy Fieri. I've got some thoughts. Diners, drive-ins, and dives on Food Network. I've got a couple thoughts I want to share. That comes your way after this. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by IHOP, introducing the IHOP value menu, where all your breakfast faves are just $6 each every day. Where else can you get a big filling sit-down breakfast for only $6? Go to your happy plates with the $6 IHOP value menu, available every day at IHOP. $7 in some locations. Sam Levitt with you here on 97.3 The Fan, filling in for Braden today, taking you up until 2 p.m. That's when we flip things over to today's edition of Gwynn and Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr., and the award-winning Matt Scraby, taking you up until Monday Night Football when the Raiders take on the Cowboys here on 97.3 The Fan. Darnay Tripp of NBC 7 will join us in about 12 to 15 minutes. We'll talk with Darnay about a number of San Diego sports topics, all things we've touched on today: San Diego FC, Padres, Aztecs. So we'll be joined by Darnay coming up in just a little while. Couple of things that I wanted to get to before that. One story here that I thought was interesting, and Frank, this will perk Frank up a little bit here. Saw this story, Frank. The headline was, let me grab it here. Hold on. Should have had it. Hold on. Want to read the headline to you. The headline here was, I just thought it was interesting.
Still got a half hour to go.
Here we go. Headline was, with Edwin Diaz on the market, a perfect storm is brewing for the Mets to lose him. Thought it was an interesting piece. I'll read here just a couple of sentences from it. Thought it was an interesting baseball story. A perfect storm for the New York Mets to lose free agent closer Edwin Diaz might be developing. Diaz, testing free agency for the first time, is eager to cash in on his last chance for a monster payday. Mets president of baseball operations David Stearns, whose initials might as well stand for disciplined and steady, would not be afraid to replace Diaz by diving into a deep market for closers. Why this really surprised me, we'll touch on it quickly here, is, Edwin Diaz has been terrific for the most part for the Mets. Even if he's gonna get another big payday, I don't see why the Mets and their pockets wouldn't be willing to give him what he wants. Seems like a silly guy to lose when it very well just comes down to money.
I was surprised that I had completely forgotten about the opt-out being in his contract.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I'm like, wait, what? How in the world is that? But I mean, we've kind of surmised on the show that a lot of these guys might be doing this because they know that this is their last chance to get a real payday. If they think the owners going into the new collective bargaining agreement, if they think the owners are really dug in on the salary cap, salary floor situation, this is their last chance to really get that big money payday. You're not going to give contracts and award money and then just take it away. So those contracts are going to be grandfathered in somehow, some way.
Yeah.
But I was surprised to see it because he's already getting $20 million. He's already the highest paid reliever in baseball. He's getting paid more than most starting pitchers are. But to me, it just reeks of, if that is the case, that it is just for money and that this is their last chance before salary restructuring, it just reeks of greed to me.
Well, look, he's allowed to.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Try
go
to get
for
another
it.
deal. I get it. I mean, look, I think he's great. And, has looked really good. I know the velo has been down for him a little bit, but he's still really effective.
He hasn't been the same. What was it? He 163 ERA this year. It wasn't the fact that he pitched bad. It was when he decided to have a blow up. Was at the worst possible time for the Mets. He has not been the same pitcher since the Dominican national team decided to use him as a $100 million trampoline after that game in the World Baseball Classic. But I mean, it was surprising to me.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah, it was just a surprising headline. And you're right. I did not even realize he had the opt-out. Other news, we touched on this briefly, but big news last night. First, domino to fall in the free agent portion of the offseason. Josh Naylor, the Mariners, in agreement on a 5-year contract, according to Jeff Passan of ESPN. I've not seen what the money is for that. I would imagine it's going to be a nice chunk of change for Josh Naylor. I think it could be close to $100 million. This is a good player. Was really good for the Mariners after the trade from Arizona. Got off to a slow start in the postseason, but then really turned it on and played really, really nicely in the division series and in the championship series, and got Seattle within a handful of outs of going to the World Series. So really good player. I'll give the Mariners credit. You know, their fans have criticized them for not spending money and not going after players, and they very clearly identified Naylor as a guy they wanted to keep and end up bringing it back. He's a nice player, a nice guy too. I've interviewed him on our pregame show a handful of times. He's a nice guy, nice player, and good for him getting a big deal from the Mariners. Other headline here, just so you know, Yankees reportedly agreeing to re-sign left-hander Ryan Yarbrough to a 1-year deal for reportedly $2.5 million, according to ESPN. So a little news there for you. As free agency slowly but surely, Naylor, a big name, gets underway across Major League Baseball. We head towards the winter meetings. We will have coverage for you. I'll be there in Orlando at the winter meetings from December 7th through the 10th. So get that on your calendar. Should be fun. And we'll hear from Craig Stammen. Going to be interesting to see Craig and hear from Craig at his first winter meetings, and AJ Preller, and we'll have updates from Orlando for you in a couple of weeks right here on 97.3 The Fan. Again, Darnay Tripp joining us in about 10 minutes. I did want to I've got this written down. I've got to bring it up. Mm-hmm. I have written on my list here diners, drive-ins, and dives, and I'll tell you why. I'm sitting on the plane yesterday. I told you the Wi-Fi wasn't working.
Without Wi-Fi.
So I had to go to the pre-loaded content they have on there. I love drivers, dives. In fact, Guy Fieri, who everybody knows from Drivers, Dive-Ins, and Dives, he was here in San Diego not that long ago. Some kind of event, bar crawl thing. I was invited to it from somebody, from another host. No, hold on. This was a radio thing. There was another There was another host as part of our Odyssey stations who was going, and I believe went. She invited me. I did not go. But he was here, is my point. So I'm watching this, and the thing I started thinking about, when they interview the people in the restaurant sitting and eating the food, I mean, those people are not randomly there very clearly. They're too well-dressed. They're too put together.
They're industry plants is what they are.
I mean, it looks too good. So those people know they're going to be, like, they don't just show up at Johnny's Diner and next thing they know they're on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. No way, right? No, that's got to be pre-planned.
Yeah, that's a gimmick.
Do you think they know they're going to be on TV and interviewed when they show up to the restaurant? I'd imagine.
Yeah, I would have to assume there's some sort of payment involved in there.
Yeah, they gotta work on that on Food Network. It doesn't look real enough. I do not buy that any of these people just walked into the restaurant. That's my first point on my first thought while watching Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. The other part was I'm watching this episode and guy gets out of his car. He's with another guy. I think they were in Indianapolis. And
Two people named Guy.
And it was a guy named Ronnie. Well, no. The other guy was named Ronnie 2K. Have you heard of Ronnie 2K?
No.
And apparently some video game
Wonderful.
Guy. I don't know.
Probably,
I just thought this
probably
was
an NBA.
I thought this was the weirdest pairing on Food Network. Guy Fieri, and he's like, "Here's my friend, video game gamer Ronnie 2K." I was like, "What is going on?" Just watching this, I'm like, "What is going on?" Ronnie 2K and Guy Fieri. I don't know much about Ronnie 2K, but anyway, those are my thoughts yesterday watching Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Great show. I really do enjoy it. I do. You know what? I want to look up what restaurants here in San Diego have been out in Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. I'd like to know.
You want to know what I want to know?
Yes.
I want to know who gets a pair of tickets to see
okay.
San Diego State basketball.
Before we go to break here, I forgot about this, everybody. Here we go. This is very exciting. You're going to want to tune in, all seriousness, before we welcome in Darnay Tripp on the other side of this break. Hold on. Pulling it up. Okay. Here we go. Caller number 5. If you are caller number 5 right now, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Caller number 5 will win 2 tickets to see the San Diego State Aztecs take on the Troy Trojans at Viejas Arena on Tuesday night, tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. Caller number 5 right now at 833-288-0973. You will win 2 tickets to see the Aztecs take on Troy on the basketball floor tomorrow night at Viejas Arena. We're back after this on 97.3 The Fan. Back here on 97.3 The Fan, 1:38. Sam Levitt with you. Taking you up until 2 p.m. until we flip things over in just a little bit to today's edition of Gwynn and Chris. All guests on 97.3 The Fan join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. And joining us right now on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline is none other than the great Darnay Tripp of NBC 7. Does a wonderful job covering all San Diego sports. Had him on a handful of weeks ago when I was filling in for the morning crew. Did such a great job. I thought, why not bring Darnay on again? I could ask this guy about anything. SDFC, Aztecs, Padres, you name it. He'll bring the heat. Darnay, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back on, Sammy.
Absolutely. All right, let's start with Padres. You were at the Craig Stammen press conference a week ago today. Let's get your thoughts on the new Padres manager, his presser, and the overall scenario with Craig Stammen taking the helm at the top of the dugout.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? And I think what jumped out to me, having covered, I believe, all of them since Jay Stingler, Bob Melvin, Mike Schilt, and now Craig Stammen, was just the comfort level he had with AJ Preller. I can't recall as many smiles as, those guys kind of yucking it up with AJ like Craig was and kind of playing off one another. Like, clearly their history going back to AJ's first attempt to sign Craig back in 2016, obviously through his 6 seasons as a player and the last 2 years as a special assistant. That clearly was on display, just the familiarity they have with one another. And I think that's obviously important because, as we've seen in past instances, maybe that familiarity, that comfort level, has worn off over time. And so those guys being on the same page, being aligned, the respect for one another kind of continuing on will be important. And then obviously Craig's familiarity with the clubhouse and the guys within on that roster and everything you hear from, Jason Adams speaking to him there, which you've heard from guys like Joe Musgrove, even Craig kind of sharing some of his exchange with Manny Machado. Those guys seem really excited to have Craig, steering the ship now. And the part that we just don't know is his aptitude as a manager, game in and game out. We have some idea of his kind of relationship skills, his ability as a communicator, and all that, handling difficult situations. And he said it himself. There's going to be a learning curve and there's going to be some mistakes, but what we've learned through the years about Craig as a player, hard worker, not the type of guy that wants to make the same mistake twice. He's going to learn, he's going to adapt, and he's going to need to because he knows he's walking into a job with real expectations.
Well, Darnay, obviously, news-wise, it was an eventful month or so. You had Mike Schilt stepping away. You had Craig Stammen getting hired, obviously, the ownership announcement last week. To me, I'm now sort of turning my attention to the winter meetings and this roster. I feel like lineup, has some spots that need improvement. You need more power, but you're in a pretty good spot. Bullpen, you're in a very good spot. You kind of circle the rotation right now, right? And that is the major question mark at this very moment, heading towards the month of December and the winter meetings. Your thoughts on how the Padres are going to try to do this to fill out a rotation, and we don't quite know what the budget will be.
Yeah, it's a great question, and maybe not terribly different from the situation they were in a year ago where, there were bodies. There was, Randy Vasquez and Matt Waldron, weren't sure what we were going to get from Johnny Brito. They brought in Kyle Hart, among others. But it really wasn't until I feel like there was kind of a cloud over the offseason until they signed Nick Pivetta. Because until that point, we didn't really know how much they were going to be able to spend. And obviously, AJ Preller kind of manipulated the money in such a way that it was palatable for them under their kind of payroll constraints. And so we kind of were at this stage, and really, I can't remember exactly when that Pivetta signing, maybe in January, so when it happened, but I think that kind of lifted some of the concern around the team and the roster and their ability to really kind of go for it again. And it feels like AJ Preller is going to have to find another one of those kind of team-friendly starting pitchers like he has with Nick Pivetta, like Seth Lugo, like Michael Wacha in the past. And if there's one thing we've seen AJ Preller do with some regularity, it is kind of shopping the bargain barrel, so to speak, and bringing guys that, all of them were significant. In last year's case, Nick Pivetta, really their best starter all season long, really significant contributors to the rotation. And so we know AJ Preller can do it. He's going to have to do it again. And again, it reminds me a bit of where they were last year in terms of the rotation. There being some questions, there being some bodies, but not too many that we feel really comfortable that you can just kind of slot in for 175 innings and they're going to be kind of good to go every 5 days or so.
Darnay Tripp, lead sports anchor for NBC7 here in San Diego, joining us here on 97.3 The Fan. Darnay, let's touch on a couple of other San Diego sports stories. Let's, before we get to SDFC, let's talk a little Aztecs because they beat Boise State on Saturday in the rain at Snapdragon Stadium. You have to really marvel at what Sean Lewis has done in year two. Aztecs in position to host the Mountain West Championship when it's all said and done. Your thoughts on what the Aztecs have done so far this year, and as of late, this is turning into quite a nice season for Sean Lewis and company.
Yeah, really, really impressive season. I think what jumps out to me is the way they've responded from a couple tough losses. They go to Pullman, get whacked by Washington State, and you're like, okay, is this what we're going to expect through the course of the year, early in the season, not really knowing what this group is capable of. They had the bye week and then just a overwhelming performance against Cal, and then they really hit their stride and look really, really good after that. Kind of the same deal after the Hawaii loss. They go to Hawaii, a really lopsided performance, probably the worst performance of the entire season. Then you got to turn right back around and face Boise, on a night with lousy weather and all that, with so much on the line, and to see them respond the way they did, and just to kind of win, do whatever is necessary on that day to get the win. We've seen them score 40 plus points and look really good offensively. That hasn't been the case really for 3 or 4 weeks now. They just haven't been clicking, but they found a way. And it was very much kind of vintage Aztec football, 277 on the ground, lights out defense. Really, really impressive to get that done and to now be in the driver's seat in the Mountain West. I think the question going forward is, look, there's obviously business to attend to. You can't take your foot off the gas with, a team that you should beat in San Jose State, and then you got to go to New Mexico. There's going to be tough games. And given how congested things are right behind them, just one game back, they might need to win both those games. And I'm sure they're approaching it as such. I think the question is, if they end up in a game where they're having to score with regularity, if the game's played in the 20s or 30s, or God forbid the 40s, can they hang? Because that's just the one thing we haven't seen from them in recent weeks. But if they get that clicking, that can be really scary for the rest of the Mountain West, and regardless, they're in really, really good position. You have to like what we've seen from Sean Lewis in the program this year.
Absolutely. Darnay Tripp joining us from NBC7 right now here on 97.3 The Fan. Darnay, let's finish up with SDFC, the big series win against Portland. I had a guest on earlier, Marcelo Balboa, former U.S. national team defender, National Soccer Hall of Famer, really just speaking very glowingly about this season that SDFC has experienced. I mean, Darnay, you look at it, if SDFC pulls this off and they win the MLS Cup, they would become just the second expansion team to do it. And you'd be looking at, I think, the best expansion season ever in the history of the league. It's remarkable what they continue to do. As you have followed this team from day one. You've done a lot of work on the build up to their inaugural season. What has this been like to watch? Really, the stunning level of success that they continue to have. The MLS Cup very much in reach.
Yeah, it's been remarkable. And I mean, similar to, what I just said about the Aztecs, they also had a 3-game skid where you're like, okay, they're coming back down to earth. And then they get it back into gear and have, I think, an incredible month of May. A similar case in September, they kind of slowed down. You're like, okay, is this young team, this new franchise hitting a wall? Because something similar happened with St. Louis, one of the best expansion seasons ever. They kind of hit a wall at the end of the season and they lost in the first round. And so you're like, okay, is this happening again? Couple nice wins in October. And then the way that they responded to just a deflating loss at Portland, a game that should have been in hand. They should have had the series wrapped up at that point. And you have to wonder, okay, is that going to hang with them now into a game 3? And you just think about how lousy of an ending that would be to what has just been a phenomenal season. And you didn't want that for this group just because of how positive this story has been and the way they come out flying out of the gates and just put together a dominant performance to advance. And so I think, as fun as they have been to watch, they try and score goals, they go for the win, they're very aggressive, constantly like moving forward, but also just the way they've responded to some kind of adversity and been really sound kind of mentally throughout the course of the season. I think that's been really, really impressive. And the teams in the East are really, really good. We haven't had a chance to see many of them through the course of the year, so it's kind of hard, and unless you're, grinding MLS film match in and match out, which I can't claim to be doing. It'll be interesting to see how they hopefully stack up. But to this point, you look at what they've done, you have to feel good about their chances to keep this thing going. We know how it is at this point. One match, anything can happen. So there's no guarantees, but there's nothing that makes you feel like they can't just kind of keep it rolling the way they have. It's been super, super impressive and really, really fun to watch.
Darnay, very, very good stuff on the Padres, SDFC, and the Aztecs. This is why I like having you on. I could ask you about anything San Diego related. I could ask you about USD. I could ask you about the goals. I bet I could ask you about AJ Preller's pickup basketball games, and you would have some info or report on that. Before I let you go, you texted me. I was talking about drivers, dive-ins, and dives. Now I bring it up. Now I'm realizing I don't know if this was for air or not, but I'm here.
Let's do it.
A story, diners, drive-ins, and dives. You've got a story for me? Go ahead.
I've made a brief cameo on one episode of Triple D. I had a buddy who was a farmer when I lived in Spokane. He knew I loved Triple D. He calls me one morning. I was single life. I was in bed at like 10:30. He's like, "Hey, can you rush to the restaurant at 11 a.m.? They're shooting right now, and they need somebody at the restaurant just to kind of fill out the tables." And I was like, yes, I'm there. Threw on some clothes, hustled over there. I was like, I'm going to meet Guy. This is like a bucket list item for me. I love the show. He was not there. They had shot the kitchen segment the day before. And the day I was there, they were doing kind of the serving people food and people talking about it. And you're absolutely right. They have friends that are people with, familiar with the owner, familiar with the restaurant, that are handpicked to talk and give those interviews. I was not one of them. But there were a couple brief shots of me shoveling some French fries into my mouth that made it onto the episode of Triple D. So that is the highlight of my television career. Probably like a second and a half worth of appearances on one episode of Triple D. It was incredible.
All right, Darnay, good stuff. Enjoy the lead up to Thanksgiving and towards the holiday season. I'm sure I will see you around town. Thank you for the time.
Thanks, Sammy.
All right, Darnay Tripp of NBC7 joining us here on 97.3 The Fan. Darnay does a really, really, really nice job. In fact, I'll be honest with you, and obviously we're partial to Mr. Higgins here in the mornings. There are a lot of really good sports anchors, sports guys, sports gals in this market, whether it be Darnay, whether it be Jake of CBS, whether it be Ben, obviously, whether it be Julian of Fox, whether it be Bree Allison of KUSI and Fox. Some names I'm probably forgetting. I don't mean to offend anybody by forgetting them, but really a lot of very good sports anchors. And I'll tell you what, one reason I really like having Darnay on, and would be the same with Jake or Julian or Bree or Allison and whomever else. One reason I really like it is they follow everything.
Yeah.
They've got a really good pulse. Like Darnay's got a really good pulse on all these teams, including the Padres. He's in there a lot inside the clubhouse, but good stuff from Darnay. And we're almost done. I think a good show, Frank. 4 hours in the books.
A solid Monday show.
Covered everything. We got to Padres. We got to
fun part
Aztecs.
is, we get to do 2 Monday shows this week. When Braden's back, we'll get to a lot of the stuff that we missed.
I did NFL.
Yeah, we'll take deeper dives into that stuff.
We didn't
tomorrow.
do college football. I did not do that. We talked about Cal Raleigh versus Aaron Judge. We talked about airplane Wi-Fi. We talked about diners, drive-ins, and dives. We talked about Josh Naylor. What else did we do? We talked about, my note here, why do Frank and Braden think I go on so many trips? The mischaracterization of Sam Levitt. We talked about that. We talked about Craig Stammen. I talked about everything on my list here.
While saying he doesn't go on many trips, by the way, he then revealed like 3 or 4 more trips that he's going on over the offseason.
Let me think. I've got 1, 2. I probably got at least I've got at least 3 until spring training. But I mean, some of this is going to be small. I mean, some of this is going to a wedding.
It's still a trip. It's still a trip. Doesn't matter.
I've got probably 4 to 5, if I'm being honest.
There you go. See?
And there may be a big one in there. There's going to be one, I think, pretty significant one in there, probably in January.
What, are you getting married or something?
No. No. Long way away from that. All right.
Off to tomorrow we go.
Yes, tomorrow. Braden's back. A couple of married men, Tony, Chris, they'll be with you. Here in a second. Scraby's not married. Not yet. Quinn and Chris coming your way after this. Frank, great job today. I'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.
2 of America.